All right, Gabriel, welcome to the show. Glad to have you on.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Got my cup of coffee here.
Oh man, you're gonna judge me. I actually don't have coffee with me right now. I just have like my water and shit.
I thought that was kind of the most interesting thing from the Ask Me Anything. You were a little upset. People didn't ask you about coffee. I was like,
Yeah, I mean,
so you a coffee aficionado?
I mean, if I could, yeah, listen. When I tell you coffee is like a religion in my household, I've been
Really?
drinking coffee since I was like 12. Like, my parents would always like make coffee, and they would always let us have it. So, an Italian household, it's pretty much always bread and coffee, like on standby.
For like Southern and Central American households, it's the same thing. Coffee is you gotta have it. I was at a get together last night with my girlfriend because someone in her family was having like a birthday party. It was like 10 p.m. and somebody was like, "We're making coffee. Who wants a cup of coffee?"
Yeah, there's always a pot on whenever you come to our houses. Just how it kind of goes.
Yeah, I was like, dang. I used to have a very negative perception of coffee. I like so I would always see my parents drink it, and for some reason to me it was like coffee's bad for you. You shouldn't drink it. Caffeine, da 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 da. And I had this like stigma, like I'm not doing it. And then I reached the age of reason, and then I realized stuff is fantastic.
Mhm.
It
You know
is
what's funny?
great.
'Cause, like, I know like there's always this like one of the old myths of coffee is like the caffeine will stunt your growth if you're a kid and you drink it too early. And it's funny because like I bloomed so early as a kid. Like I was 5'8", 5'9" by the time I was like in sixth grade, right? I was 160 pounds. So I'm like, I'm growing pretty well already. I should have my fucking coffee. You know?
See, I never heard that. To me, it was more like I felt like they relied on it, you know? Because I remember my dad would say like if I don't have a cup of coffee like around 10 o'clock, I'll have a headache,
Like
and
you
I
didn't tell me you don't rely on your coffee. Weird.
and I'm like I like having it, but I can go like without it. Like if I don't drink it in the morning, I don't feel like he does sometimes. Maybe it's like a mental thing for him. I don't know. But I really do like now. I really do like enjoy waking up, making a nice cup of coffee.
Yeah.
But I do it like just black coffee and some sugar.
Mhm.
That's what I'm saying. That's my thing.
Man, that doesn't quite count as black coffee. We're throwing sugar in it though.
Well,
Like,
yeah. Well, because it's mad bitter.
well, then you get fucking better coffee, dude. Jeez.
Yeah, true. I haven't really dabbled too much. So are you? Let's go over here. No, right
Oh
here.
shit, we're really diving into this fucking coffee shit right
All
now.
right, we're gonna get into it. Okay, so let's see. We're gonna scroll to some pictures and let me know which one of these cups of coffee you look at and you go, that looks like a good cup of coffee.
Scroll past the fucking lattes.
No smiley face coffee.
No.
That could.
Lattes out of their fucking place, but it's like, see, like, stop, like that one, kind of like right there in the middle,
This one.
up the left, yeah, that one. Oh, yeah,
That looks like a good cup of coffee to you.
yeah, it just looks like a straight up cup of espresso. Yeah.
Nice.
So like that's how I normally will do my coffee. I'll just like I have an espresso maker, and I'll just like do a fucking quad of espresso. I'll put in like a little bit of Splenda into it, maybe
Hmm.
like some stevia or some shit, and that's all I'll drink it. If I don't make like an iced coffee out of it, but yeah, it's literally just fucking straight espresso because I'm a caffeine addict.
You ever go on like coffee talk?
Coffee talk? Is that a
Like
thing?
yeah, so like there's like compilations of people making coffee.
I'm not that deep into it. Damn.
you know it's like an aesthetic, what I'm saying. People are like, ooh, look at this fancy drink, but a lot of times it's like 90% milk and creamer, and then it's like
Like, yeah, that's not coffee. At that point, you're drinking a fucking like
you know
smoothie.
but they have like these super aesthetic videos,
Good for that.
like
This is
shape.
something I never. This is like food talk on fucking TikTok and shit. Like,
Yeah, so there's like food talk, but for some reason there's like a coffee slash drink talk where they'll make like alcoholic beverages too, and it all falls into like this aesthetic. You know what I'm saying? It's always interesting to watch.
I don't drink my coffee for the look. I drink my coffee for the function. Like what you were talking about earlier. It's like there's
Yeah.
just something nice about waking up to a nice cup of coffee.
Hmm.
It's the ritual at this point. You fucking know.
Hey, these square cubes though, They look kind of cool. So you don't like any of the iced coffee? None of it?
I do iced coffee. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just depends on the mood, depends on the day.
Yeah. I've tried iced coffee. Not really a big fan. But I'm also not a fan of like super hot coffee.
The only time I'll ever dodge hot coffee if it's like in the middle of the fucking summer, or if I'm like
Oh, okay.
working and I'm like sweaty as shit. It's like I don't want a hot beverage at that point.
Yeah. So I have a thing I do. I'll put the coffee in. I'll put the sugar in. Once I get situated with some stuff happening in the future, you know, I'd want to get an espresso machine, and I want to get, I want to have a place where you can make coffee. Because right now it's just the instant mix in, some brown sugar in, you pour some hot water, but I do it up to like a little bit, and then I put in a little bit of cold water to like level it out.
I'm judging you a little bit. If you want to try some like ridiculous fucking coffee, go to Starbucks one day, get a grande cold brew,
Okay.
and get a quint of espresso in it. Nothing else. That shit, like you drink it and you can just feel your breath about to combust. It is like it's super fucking strong coffee. There's probably like 400 milligrams and like 16 ounces of liquid right
Jesus.
there of just straight caffeine, but it tastes really good. But
So
that'll give you a sense of like what kind of coffee I like to drink.
Oh, okay. So are you like are you the coffee before a workout type, or you still like to take your pre-workout?
I will dodge the coffee before a workout for obvious reasons. But no, I'll take a traditional pre-workout like the Total Wars from Redcon. I'll always have one of those before a workout.
I've tried the Total War. It's
Coffee,
pretty
I'll
good.
kinda, like sip on it through the day.
Oh, okay. I've tried the Total Wars. One that I really enjoy right now is Bucked Up. Bucked Up. I think it's because it tastes good. You mix it and it tastes good. When I have like pre and it tastes bad, I'm like I can't.
See, and that's why I like Redcon. We have the ready to drink pre-workouts and shit. So it's literally just like a small little like 8-ounce bottle.
Yeah.
Just mixed together or pre-workout.
Okay.
It's just there's no powdery texture to it or anything. It's just straight liquid, and it just tastes really good. So,
Yeah. That's the main thing that I look for in a pre-workout. Like if it hits good, cool. But if it tastes terrible and I don't enjoy drinking it, I don't want it.
If it mixes up, see, that's the problem with like pre-workouts like C4 and stuff that you can like buy from Walmart. You throw them into the fucking into the water. No matter how hard you shake it, no matter how hard you blend it, it tastes powdery. It tastes chalky.
Yep, exactly. Man, yo, C4, that takes me back to my first days lifting, man.
Yes.
And that was like the thing. And then like I would go and I'd get like the C4 and they would market it as like the extra strength one. And I'd be like, oh yeah, this is the stuff. And then,
it only had like 20 more milligrams of caffeine in it.
Yeah, exactly. And then, later on I got to try things like Insane Labs Psychotic. That's a pre. I had to stop taking that one for a bit because I was like, I need to calm down a little bit. This hits a little too hard.
See, C4 wasn't even like the first thing. Like C4 was like the first like actual pre-workout I got into. But what I used to do is I would do like the 5-hour energy shots.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because you talk about the extra strength or whatever. It's like they have 5-hour energy and then 5-hour extra strength. And it's like the extra strength is like the normal 5 hours, 200 milligrams of caffeine. The extra strength, 250. And it's like, basically the same fucking thing. Niacin in it too, so you just felt like really flushed and warm once you took it. But
yeah. All right. So now that our coffee chat is over,
the most important talk about the coffee. Most important,
got to talk about coffee. Hey, coffee first thing in the morning, coffee first thing of the podcast, right?
Fair enough.
All right.
Bad for a cup of coffee on hand.
It's all right. So, Gabriel Didden, powerlifting coach, personal trainer, bachelor's degree in exercise science, online coach, and you are now working with Redcon out of Redcon 1 Gym. That's down in Florida?
Yeah, Boca Raton.
Man, that's awesome. So you moved down to Florida, right?
Mm-hmm. I moved literally 3 days after I graduated from Winthrop in December.
Man, that's awesome. And what was that like? Was it scary? Were you like, man, like I'm coming out here, like what am I even gonna do? Or
I mean, it was weird because like pretty much my entire last year at college, I dove into like we'll call it like the exercise world, the fitness world, whatever. Like I've been into this stuff since like a really young age.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff in my degree that like I just already knew.
Okay.
So like I was already really familiar with like biomechanics, anatomy, some physiology. Granted, not nearly as much as I learned from my degree. But yeah, my entire last year of college was literally just me wanting done and get to working towards my coaching.
Mm-hmm.
So literally I had it all planned out. Like I went to interviews during my last semester, like at the beginning of my last semester of college. Yeah, I missed my first like 2 weeks of classes just for these fucking interviews, right?
Mm.
Um, and so I got like confirmed for a couple jobs down here. I started like plotting out how to like getting a roommate, getting an apartment,
Mm-hmm.
um, moving all my stuff and getting set up. And like I had all this like lined up months ahead of time, right? So like pretty much as soon as I graduated, I didn't walk for graduation. I just got my fucking diploma
Dang.
shipped to me in the mail. Yeah, graduated on the 18th, chilled out on the 19th, went out and got breakfast, or excuse me, had dinner with my family as a celebration
Mm-hmm.
on the 20th. Drove to Florida on the 21st.
Jesus Christ.
So yeah, I was very ambitious to go ahead and get down here. I didn't really want to waste any time because it felt like I'd already been waiting so long
Yeah.
to like get out of school and just get started with like my life and my career in general. So yeah, it wasn't really scary. It was more so like, geez, it's about time I finally get to do it.
Okay. Yeah.
I was really excited for it.
Man, that's awesome. I tell you what, from the stuff I've seen through your Instagram, the coaching, the amount of just time and effort and passion that you put into your coaching, your training is one of the dopest things to see. I've always said, I love when people show passion and drive. Like, you know, like you ever look at somebody talk about something they just fucking love and like their eyes just like light up, you know?
Mhm.
That's one of the coolest things, you know?
Well, thank you.
And, you know, recently with some of your posts, I just look and I'm like, bro, the barriers just keep breaking over and over and over again. I remember when I followed you, I think it was like 2018, 2019.
Yeah, you followed me like a long time ago. We've been at this point.
Yeah, it was a while ago. And I remember when I saw your videos, I was like, this guy's built different. You can just you can like, there are people you look at, they're like okay, you know, but there are people you look at, it's like, all right, you know, they have the thing that's gonna like make them phenomenal in this, you know. And I called it. I was like, bro, Gabriel is gonna be the next person to look out for in powerlifting. It's crazy.
I remember I have that story you posted. Like you shared one of my lifts like a long time ago, like back when I was only like squatting 600 pounds or some shit. And you're like, I remember you posting like, "Watch out, Gabriel Didden's gonna be like the next big thing or whatever." And like I had that story screenshotted and saved on my phone. So yeah, that meant a lot to me. That was very funny, but very cool at the same time because you know it's kind of nice to get some recognition for like the kind of shit that goes into this kind of stuff. Because like when I tell people like powerlifting is my life, like it sounds like a cliche. It's really cringy to fucking say, but it's like, you know, my career revolves around powerlifting. I went to school so that I could be a better powerlifting coach.
Mm-hmm.
I've been lifting weights since I was 12 years old. Like I started out in my freaking bedroom. And even during my undergrad, all I wanted to do in my free time was do like lift weights and get
Yep.
better at powerlifting. So it's like it's literally all I think about for the most part. Um, and literally like even my job structure is structured around it. And it's also what I like to do for fun. So yeah, this shit runs deep.
Yeah,
And
you
not a lot
know.
of people really understand that and can appreciate that.
Yeah, people really don't, you know. And sometimes I struggle with the amount that, like, how much I enjoy training, because I end up like shooting myself in the foot when it comes to recovery. Like
Yeah.
like I'm just so eager to go to the gym. I like, okay, you should take the day off and rest and, you know, get ready for maybe like the next day so you can hit your top set at a good weight. But I'll do shit like Sunday. I work in Richmond, but I work out of state. Luckily, I'm only 2 hours away, so I can like drive up on Monday morning.
Oh, you're up in Virginia?
Yeah.
Oh, no kidding. I was born in Virginia.
Really? What part?
Yeah. Oh God. Norfolk. Yeah.
Norfolk. Okay. All right. So you're more towards the coast.
Yeah.
I've been to Norfolk, and that drive from Richmond to Norfolk sometimes can be a pain. I feel like they're never gonna finish any of that that road work. I feel like they're never gonna finish any of it.
Oh no, well, I mean, I haven't been up there in years at this point, but yeah, I'm very fond of Virginia. But sorry, you were saying.
No, yeah. So I'll like Sunday night. I might like tonight, for example, is the final episode for Euphoria. We're gonna watch it. It comes out at 9, so obviously we're gonna be up, and I'm most likely gonna fall asleep around 11:30. But I have to wake up at like 4 a.m. to drive 2 hours up to Elkton, Virginia for my job. I got to work 10 hours of the day. And before, like, I would go, oh, it's time to go to the gym and hit a top single at 8. Probably not the best move, but I was just, and so like, just being so eager to get into the gym, like, has like backfired on me. But I'm trying to like, ring it back in. Like, all right, take your rest days on the days you need to. One thing I have noticed that has been working is if I binge an anime, I have a reason not to go to the gym.
No, but that's part of the puzzle. Like the deeper you get into this, the more like the better you want to get at it, the more important you realize how those recovery days are. So not just like having a rest day, but like making it an actual recovery day where it's like you control like your mental stimulus, like you learn to fucking relax, but you still move enough and give your body enough like of a break to actually rejuvenate for the next training session. And eventually, like once people kind of get a grasp of how important that stuff is, it becomes just as important and just as exciting as the training. And that's kind of like part of the, like you talk about daily rituals, like coffee is up there as far as the daily rituals goes, but it's like also having like mobility and recovery drills that you go about throughout the day to keep your body healthy, because that makes the big stuff in the gym that much better. So yeah, once people kind of get a grasp on that, that becomes exciting to do too. It takes some people a minute to get there because I think it's all about how fucking hard they can push in the gym, and no days off, and like respect the grind and all that shit. And it's like, you got to be a little bit more sophisticated with it than just go into the gym and do 12 to 15 different fucking exercises and bust ass to failure every single fucking time. It's like, the work, like the fact that you're excited to like bust your ass for it, great. You got to approach it with a little, like, be a little smart with it.
100%. And I wish I would have known all of this stuff when I first started working out. God, I wish I'd known so much of this stuff. Like, I look back at the things I would do and just cringe. Like, why would I? Like, you ever see people make exercises much harder than they need to be for the sake of, yeah. But even like normal gym people, just like think like yo, that's not getting you. You're not doing what you think you're doing. Like push-ups on the Bosu ball, for example.
Yeah, I was going to bring up the Bosu ball example. Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Squats on the Bosu ball. Like it's not doing what you think it's doing. But I was a victim to a lot of that shit. I remember one of the first people I followed and like listened to what they said about when it came to workout advice. You might know him, but it was Mike Chang with Six Pack Shortcuts.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Way back. You know him?
It sounds very familiar. I mean, this sounds like I'm not going to go on.
Like this is so like way back in the day when like fitness content wasn't that big, so there were just a couple of people that were really kind of popping. Like Mike Tang was one of them. Athlete X is up there with people who were making content.
Like the Sean T era kind of stuff.
Yeah. Like back before YouTube like had gotten like real crazy. But just so much stuff that I wish I would have known.
I mean, this sounds like the Beachbody era of like whenever was, like on television and whatnot. And it's like, here's this 20-minute ab workout to get super
exactly.
Yeah,
here's the key type of content. Like you're not getting big because you're not doing this one thing.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of like where I started to really learn and grow a distaste for like the marketing side of this stuff. Like quickly learning is not just about like how good of a trainer you are, but you also have to learn how to sell. So learning that a big part of the exercise industry, especially when it comes to like equipment, and then selling like programs, is literally just how well can you pitch it? How nice can you make it sound to the general because the general population, they don't know better. Like they're not into the exercise science kind of stuff. They don't
No.
know what's going to affect their body in what way. It's like so you get a super shredded guy who's probably on juice, rub him up with some baby oil, get him shirtless on camera, and be like, "Hey, this is the way you get super jacked and shredded." People will buy it. And so it's like I get it, but I don't like it, especially
Yep.
because like I try to take this a little bit more seriously than some
Mm-hmm.
people like to think. I don't want to bullshit people, but at the same time, gotta make a living. So yeah, that's a whole conundrum in its own. But
Yeah, it's hard to like want to market and not be like a gimmick or
yeah,
like straight out just lie to people, you know? And because unfortunately, people don't want to hear the truth, you know? People want to know like what's
the
that
truth.
secret, you know? Like there is no secret, man. It's just, you know, it is
Yeah,
what
no
it
one wants
is.
to hear the fact it's like no, there are no secrets when it comes to lifting weights and getting big and strong. It's like it's really basic, repetitive shit, and you do it for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there are genetics that go into it, and yeah, some people are going to be better at it than others. You might not become an IFBB pro or the top powerlifter in the world, but the basics are basics for a reason. They're going to carry you a long fucking way if you like
100%.
master them and then just do them for years on end. That's one like, and I try to tell people it's um, like I get compliments on my physique and like my strength and stuff, and I don't think I'm like that strong or like that jacked or anything. Like I know I have a good build and like I'm a pretty decent power lifter. Oh, I'm
He
gonna bring up that
says,
fucking photo.
he says,
Shut up. But no,
stacked.
it's like people got to understand. It's like I've been lifting weights since I was like 11, 12 years old, like over a decade at this
Mm-hmm.
point. Um, and it's like you got newcomers coming in when they're like 18, 19, 20 years old, and they're like, "Yeah, I want to get like jacked and strong like you." It's like, okay, here's what you got to do, and now do it for 10 years. People don't like that
Exactly.
message.
They don't.
People really don't, and it doesn't sell
It
well.
doesn't sell well. It does not sell well. And I've over the years I've gotten like few compliments here and there, like man, Jordan, you're strong. Man,
Mhm.
Jordan, your body's great. One things that makes just like puts me over the edge when people say this to me is like, man, you're so strong. You got a great body. You're so lucky. That
Oh, that
shit
drives me
that
insane.
shit pushes me. I'm like, what the luck? I've had to fucking work for this shit. You
Oh
know?
no, didn't you realize you just stumble your way into like a fucking 600-pound squat on accident?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. You know, like, dude, I used to be like 130 pounds soaking wet.
mhm.
No sorts of like athleticism, nothing. Cause I never played sports when I was younger. I didn't play sports until like high school. And that was for like
Mhm.
a handful of years, like maybe 2 years at the most, you know?
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, and then it took me a while to really, build it up. So like that's if you're listening, that's one of the worst things you can tell somebody that's really strong or has a great physique. Don't tell them they're lucky because it's
Mhm.
not luck. It's a lot of hard work and sacrifice. A lot of you spend so much time at the gym. Yeah, there's a reason for that.
Mhm.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah, a lot of people. I know, like, especially like the way I grew up. Like, I've been in athletics ever since I was like, I think the first time I got into involved in sports, I was like 5 or 6 years old. Like, I started playing baseball. I
Mm-hmm.
used to love baseball. Um, but it's like even from pretty much the time I was like 5 years old, I was playing sports and exercising in some capacity. So figure at this point that we're coming up on like 17, 18 years of regular physical
Mm-hmm.
activity with no long-term breaks. The longest time I ever took from exercise in general was like a week. And that was after my first powerlifting comp, just because my body was absolutely wrecked. But yeah, it's like, people don't quite realize how like these people that you look at and consider to be lucky or even the genetic freaks, like they've built up that base for so long from such a young age
Yep.
that it transfers into the muscle growth um very well, and they're able to respond a lot better because they've been doing exercise for legitimately decades in
Mm-hmm.
many cases. Only a decade in my case, but you get my point.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, don't you fucking! I swear to God.
We're doing it. We're gonna get into a bunch of stuff. We're gonna get into a bunch of stuff here.
Oh,
All right. If this page would load.
And your internet's fucking dying from this one little video call. All that coffee shit you got pulled up.
Yeah, I know.
Also, I hope your viewers don't mind me swearing so much.
Nah. We keep it we keep it real here.
I love Alan Throll.
Dude, man. Okay, so before we get into all this fun stuff. Where is that? Just the pictures was just here. Are these like coaching highlights?
Yeah, some of the stuff I've been tagged in and stuff from my some of my clients and their stuff.
Oh, I didn't know. It's got to be the first one. Or I guess not.
Wait, which one?
I was trying to look for like the GD because that's that's what you have at your coaching brand as right now, right?
Yeah, you kind of see the logo up there in the right top right corner. I don't have
the
new one,
but
you can kind of see it like right there.
Yeah, so GD strength. Yeah, I'm glad you came up with a logo. I remember you were talking about shirts. That I haven't been able to keep up. I don't know if they're in production because I did want a shirt.
No, listen, the shirts like so this is like business fail right out the fucking gate was I ordered like a stock of shirts from back when I was living in South Carolina. For those who don't know, grew up in tiny little shitty Chester, South Carolina. So for reference, South Carolina is like one of the poorest states in the country. Chester is like the third poorest county and city in South Carolina. So I come from like a city of like 5,000 people, and there's like nothing, no industry. We were hype when we got a Walmart, like a neighborhood.
Oh my god,
that was big for us.
Yeah,
but yeah, I ordered shirts from like this local printer guy, super beat up shop. Like we'd done stuff with him for like church back when I was going to church regularly.
Yeah,
like our age and stuff. We printed shirts through him, so I was like, hey, he prints shirts. Let me go get some shirts from this guy. And I got like a stock of like 50 shirts, all different sizes and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, start falling out. And it didn't cost me anything too crazy, but yeah, I sold some of the shirts. I had one for a couple for myself, obviously. And the fucking like the print on it came off.
Oh shit!
To pull off after one wash. And at this point I'd already moved to Florida, so it's like I got shirts. I'm not about to drive back to South Carolina to get it fixed. So I kind of just chucked them because I wasn't gonna sell something that was gonna like degrade in like a week of wear. So that was not amusing. But once I get a little bit, because first of all, moving is very expensive. So once I have a little bit more money saved up, I'll probably do a re-up on the shirts. It's just that's gonna take a little bit of time. So bear with me on that.
Have you thought about going the pre-order route? I know some people prefer the pre-order route because it's easier to like make sure what you do like purchase for selling that it's all going somewhere, right? Versus like buying a bunch of stock and then maybe it doesn't all go.
Yeah, that's probably like the smarter way to go about it, and that's probably how I'm doing it in the future. I just have to like set up a pre-order platform. I just haven't taken the time to do it. Just because I'm in the works with a lot of stuff with Redcon right now. So, yeah, time is a little scarce at the moment. I'm glad we actually had time to like wiggle this in. But still, I'll get to it eventually. I'm not too pressured on like getting the shirts right now.
Well, I tell you what, you got the physique and the strength to build up some massive hype for some apparel, you know? So I really hope to see something come of it. Okay.
It'd be fun to do an apparel line.
So
we got a lot of fun little dumb logos and
like this right here. Yanni, I met him on Instagram as well. Sad boy, sad strength, right? I thought it was just a really dope concept, you know. And we talked about it on the podcast I did with him, and you know, he said a lot of like, you know, like there's motivational like stuff out there, but then there's also a lot of like pseudo motivational stuff that's like over the top. And he says like that doesn't really like, I don't relate to that really. So he made like his own like gym, like sad boys, right? Because, you know, sometimes, you know, people might see people at the gym and you think, oh man, that guy's there crushing it, taking over the world, you know, but it could be sad boy hours in the gym, you know? And I just thought it was really dope. I really dig.
Me in the gym at 2 a.m. deadlifting by myself.
I tell you
I remember
what.
that's how the first time I ever like pulled a really like hype deadlift PR or whatever. It was like 2 a.m. in the fucking morning. You could probably scroll through my page and find it. Like it was super fucking cringy and cheesy. It's like I think it was the first time I pulled 600 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like barefoot, sweaty as shit, and I grind out this fucking rep, and I just kind of look at the camera and then I throw down the bar. It was so cringy and so silly, but it was like 2 a.m. during
Yep.
set boy hour stuff.
I tell you
So
what, sometimes you got to have those days. You got to, I've had like where I'm like, it's like 10 at night, 11 o'clock at night. And I'm like, I got to go to the gym and have a little sad boy session, and you get it out your system and you feel great afterwards.
yeah, it's weird because especially since I've moved to Florida, I've been here for like 2 months at this point. I don't really like get in that mood anymore. Like I never quite grasped how negatively school was affecting me, like mentally, just because like it's one thing, like school is stressful, don't get me wrong. It's not like I was doing a graduate program or anything crazy. Hey, look at me. The big old cheesy smile.
So this picture probably reflects what you're talking about. Been smiling a lot more these days.
Yeah, like
And that's awesome.
I love it down here. I love it down here in Florida so much. But it's like not only for the fact that like I'm down here in Florida, like working and doing what I want to do, but like also not feeling like locked to school
Mm-hmm.
anymore because I'm very grateful that I got to go to college and what it was very probably the best example I could give you is like I know like my mother like when she was going to college like way before I was born,
Yeah.
obviously. She was going to school as a business major.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the major was like obviously you do like exercises and shit and like trials for running a business.
Yeah.
Well, she started a business and the business took off while
Wow.
she's in school.
Oh my God.
So it was like, all right, do I stay in school for business or do I go run my fucking business? She chose to drop out of school and go run her business. Wicked successful fucking business, right? Like this was back when she was living in California.
Yeah.
It was like a bingo card distribution business, and
What?
it made fucking bank. Yeah, a bingo company of all things. But that's kind of like I kind of got stuck in like a similar situation where it's like my coaching started like growing and taking off, and it's like I'm doing what I'm in school for already, and there was like a big part of me that was like, I really just want to take off somewhere and work doing what I love doing, growing what I fucking care about. And like, who cares if I have the fucking degree, right? And this happened when I was like 2 years into school, right? This is when like my coaching first started to like really develop.
Mm-hmm.
And so like for like that last half of my fucking degree, I felt kind of like locked into school because I didn't want to start school. Like I'm already like $20,000 in debt for this fucking degree. And it's like, I really want the degree considering I out as important. But I wasn't about to quit on the thing halfway through. So I kind of just like stuck it out, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize how negatively that was affecting, like mentally and emotionally. Being stuck somewhere where I didn't want to be, and it felt like it was holding me back from what I was waiting to do.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
so now that I'm actually done with school and like working, like I'm busting ass down here. I'm very busy, and that's a lot of work stress and whatnot. But it's like good stress. It's the shit that I enjoy
Exactly.
doing
Mm-hmm.
versus school.
Yep.
So yeah, a lot happier now, even though I'm definitely a lot busier than I was like doing my undergrad. But yeah, it's a very good thing. It's a very good change. I'm really glad I'm down here now. So.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I can understand, because busting ass for something that you're not 1,000% into is different than busting more ass for something you absolutely love.
I mean, I should clarify. Like, I cared about the degree. Like, I loved science, and I got a lot out of the degree. But it felt like it was holding me back from what I cared about even more, which was powerlifting, coaching, like getting into my life.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of other like background shit that because when you're a university student, you can't just up and go across the country to do something. Classes.
Yep.
So it held me back from like a lot of traveling opportunities and stuff like that too.
Okay, I see.
So that, so it was like it was important to me, but it felt like it was impeding on something that was more important at the time, at least. So yeah.
I see. I see. All right. So now Gabriel's down in Florida doing his thing, blowing up. You love to see it. Um, Probably crushing his online coaching. And now that we talk about coaching, let's get into some stuff.
Oh boy.
I don't know if it's just me. We know the fitness community is in fucking disarray all the time. There's a lot of just dumb shit that goes on in the fitness community.
You can say that.
For some reason, it also feels like the consensus when it comes to coaching and strength training, powerlifting, whatever. There's kind of like a riff in the community when it comes to people who coach and pay attention to like strength training. Okay, so you have, the squat U types. Okay, we got the squat university types. We have the Joel Seedman types.
Oh.
Okay, we have the Alex Bromley types. Okay, love Alex Bromley, by the way, makes fantastic content. You have the Alan Thrall types, and then you have the like barbell medicine types. Okay,
interesting little comparison we got going here.
Okay, so for those you that might not really understand, so squat U gets a lot of flack, a ton of flack. Okay, there's a lot of people that really believe in what squat U says. Okay, squat U is like functionality, form, tech over everything type of like ideology, right? And then you have the like barbell medicine types, where it's like no form is bad form, all form, is good form, like, just to like boil it down, right? And movement is good. You shouldn't be afraid when like things are achy. You just work around it through like load management, making sure you're not throwing yourself against the wall too much, too often. Yeah. Right.
It's a much more moderate perspective.
Yeah. Okay. And then you have like the old school types, which is like Alex Bromley. Alex Bromley, when he talks about like coaching and strength training, you can tell he's kind of like old school about it, right? And then you have like the newer style where it's like I don't really know how to explain it, but it's like these people, like the old school types, viewed powerlifting and programming and mechanics as all like interwoven, right? I'm also of that belief. I think the biomechanics of your movement, the way you're moving, and that there are ways that you are moving that could shoot you in the foot, right? I know there is no such thing as like the most optimal form, but I believe everyone has positions in which they can get into that makes it the best for them. Correct? Right? You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, will differ from person to person. There's a lot of overlap and some nuance from person to person, depending on me. It's not that different, but there are some differences. So again, this is kind of where I side more with like the barbell medicine types, because like, yeah, everybody's different. But principles be principles for a reason. There's a lot of really wrong ways to do things, and mostly right ways to do things are going to look pretty similar from person to person with some nuance.
Exactly, because like arm lengths are different, torso lengths are different, femur lengths are different, so things are going to look different. But I'm
arm length is going to like determine like where your best grip width on a bench press is. It's not going to determine how you execute the bench press necessarily, though.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't care how long or how short your arms are. It's a really bad idea to just full on tuck your elbow or straight flare your elbow during a bench press. That's universal, but
exactly.
Detailed shit that might vary.
Yeah. And then we have the Joel Seedman types.
The wrong types, yes.
It's just weird stuff that doesn't even like, know what I mean?
This is what I was like harping on earlier, where it's like, no, we're wrong. Joel Seedman, wicked intelligent guy. You get him like in a conversation, like he did a interview with Mike Israel, Dr.
Yeah,
Mike Israel.
he did.
Love Mike Israel. The dude is a lot less like gimmicky and flashy when you talk to him one on one. Like you might find some stuff you'll disagree with, but so much of his stuff just seems like over the top marketing kind of bullshit because you'll notice if you ever go through his page, if you haven't been blocked yet,
Huh.
if you go through his page, it's all overhyped, super long, like over the top, exaggerated explanations for everything. He even goes on in his.
Oh my God.
He didn't have enough room for the caption, so he just puts it in the comments too. But there are also a lot of paid accounts, like bot accounts, in his comment sections
Really?
that like say over the top complimentary shit. Like, wow, this is amazing, and wow, so fire, and like little fire emojis and stuff like that. And brilliant. Like these are bot accounts. These aren't actual fucking accounts. And they just upplay his interactions on his page and then also just make it look really good to people who come across it.
What is this, man?
And seeing that's another thing. Like, don't get me wrong, the dude definitely knows his anatomy, doctor and some whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
But there is a point at which the application it's so hard to watch, dude. I don't get it. Like he takes a bunch like his thing seems to be he takes a bunch of different principles from different disciplines and tries to throw them all together and make it look cool all at the same time. And it's like,
so he's like
it might do something. Who fucking knows?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll ever hook someone up to an EMG to actually like measure if this stuff is effective or whatever. Like if you're gonna exercise, you'll get stronger doing fucking something.
Yeah.
Better than nothing. But there's a point at which this kind of stuff is just non-practical and it looks silly and you would be better off doing something a lot more basic.
Yep.
But it doesn't sell. It doesn't look cool on Instagram. So
some of the comments in like there's a lot of bot accounts on Instagram, but some of them always like make me laugh. Like the ones that say thank you. Like they're so oh god. Anyway.
I'll do you the better one. I know on some of the big fitness pages, you'll get like a bot account where it's like just like some random hot girl and she says something about like, do you think I'm pretty enough?
Yeah,
and it's like on a strength page, right? And then it's got like 1,000 likes because it's a bot account with other bot accounts liking the comment. And it's like there's so much and it feels like it's stuff like that, except it's towards his own marketing. And it's really silly.
That's hilarious. Or like send pic on at. You ever get those comments? Like send pic to something something.
Oh, I've had to block a lot of those pages because it's like there's some like startup brand company where it's like they'll just create a bunch of Instagram bot accounts and set it up to like spam people's pages with like on their comments and stuff. And it's like, go check out, and then they'll tag their main page or DM us at tag the main page. And it's like, that is that's how you get blocked. That's how you guarantee I'll never work with your company, is doing stuff like that. Because I can't remember the name of the company, but it's like they had 20 different bot accounts like
Jesus
like come onto my account to like comment stuff like that, and they're all on my block list now. Even the main page is on my block list because I got so sick of it.
I really want to see like an in-depth breakdown of what these people who make these bots like what is their end goal? I mean, obviously it's got to be something monetary, but still, you know, I mean, the amount of like
you're fucking rolling in it, man. If you don't think that guy makes
oh yeah. So now let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Okay. Can bad form hurt you, and why? If it can.
I mean, it's a little bit of a loose question, but I mean, I guess it depends on what you mean by bad, and I guess it depends on what you mean by hurt. So probably.
So I'll give you an example. So I'm benching, right? Okay, I'm benching, and like you said earlier, I go to bench, and I come down, and on one of your videos you discussed it, right? You don't let your chest be up, you let it come forward, and you let your shoulders come forward, and then you go to press and you do this.
Yeah.
And you go to press. Can that over time, can you apply the theories of the barbell medicine types? Like, no, if you just work at it, eventually you'll get stronger and your body will adapt and it'll be fine. Or
go ahead.
Will it get to the point where it's starting to hurt you?
So yeah, there's a lot of it depends within the context of it. Like, whatever position you load your body in, it's gonna get stronger at. The only question is like, how sustainable is it gonna be over the long term? So like, lifting with like bad form, like we'll take the bench press example, just for like case in point here, where it's like, if you are someone who benches with very flared elbows, obviously that's gonna put a lot of torque and tension on your shoulders. Your shoulders aren't as reliable of a pressing muscle as like your pecs and your triceps. So you can do it like that for a pretty long time if you regulate the load accordingly. You probably won't get that strong, but you can bench like that technically. Now, if you like shift that into like the powerlifting context where it's like you want to be as strong as possible and you're gonna like train for months on end and push like a 1 rep max, then you probably won't get away with it for that long before something pops, right? So then that's kind of where you look to like discerning what is like good form and bad form. Is like good form distributes the load as optimally as possible across the structures involved.
100%.
Which is why, benching with a super flared elbow or a super tucked elbow isn't really optimal in most cases. Probably the only exception for like the tucked elbow would be if you have like really short, massively beefy arms.
Yeah.
You can get away with benching like this because it's all close grip tricep.
Yeah, but exactly. Or if you have like a very, very narrow grip.
Yeah, or like in like the inverse of that, like you can get away with a very flared bench if you are someone who has an extremely high arch, because like for most people when they're benching, it's like from the side, like the bar path, it like starts over their face and then it comes down and then to their sternum, and then up and then back over their face. If you have like a really, really high arch position and you grab really wide, your range of motion is like more like a straight path where it's just like doo, doo.
Yep.
And you can get away with a really really hard flare in that kind of position. A really good example of this would be like Sean Noriega. He, like his sternum is like already almost to the bar before he even starts his press.
It's insane.
So that's where there's like a bunch of this it depends kind of stuff comes in, because again, it depends on how you're training, how you're regulating it, and what it is you're trying to accomplish with it.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yep. 100%. And I agree. It took me a while to really kind of like get all the information in and work in the field with my training, my body, the way I was moving, the couple of clients that I do have, and then come to the realization that's like, okay, there's no such thing as like the most optimal form across the board. But I do think there are positions you can put yourself in that eventually at some point, it's either going to cause a lot of discomfort or you might actually end up hurting yourself. Because the laws of strength progression say that at some point in your training, you have to push the stimulus to a point where your body is going to adapt to overcome strength barriers and continue to grow and get stronger. Okay? Well, like you said, big muscles can take on a lot of load and they can grow and they can adapt. Tendons, ligaments, joints probably can't do it to the same rate that your muscles can.
Absolutely not.
Right? So if you're pushing and you get to like your week 4 or week 5 of your training and you're going for that AMRAP, for that 1 rep max, and you don't have the biomechanics for your specific body down, right? That stress, that stimulus will leak from the places where it should, like your muscles that are supposed to take on the load, to the smaller ones, right? Like right here where the pec comes across and connects over here in your shoulder. I don't know exactly what it's called.
Humerus.
The humerus, yeah, right? And that's where you see like the pec tears, like the guy that was training with Larry Wheels on the incline.
Everybody who trains with Larry Wheels gets hurt.
Dude, and he's fucking come down and boom, But it's like, when you train in these positions, you're going to get to a point where you're going to try to, you have to continue to push the stimulus, but certain parts of your body just aren't going to keep up as well as if you really have the muscles within your compound movement there to move it the way it should, right?
See, and I want to chime in on like the Larry Wheels example because there's the example of the guy, I forget the name of the bodybuilder. He seems like a real cool guy. He's real, has a great physique, real strong too. But
He was coming up too.
yeah, he was.
He was coming up.
An entire fucking pec. That really fucking sucks. But there's another guy who like, the guy I'm talking about here, like he maxed out. Is this it? No, this is him doing.
Yeah.
See if you can find the one of like the guy who tore his pec on the.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it.
I forget his name, but there's another video that kind of went around for a while where, like this guy, he maxed out like 1 rep maxed out on a preacher curl and tore both of his biceps. Do you see that video?
Yes. Yeah, I did.
Yeah, so like that's like prime example of like understanding what it is like you're training for and regulating the load around that purpose. And this comes with experience and just again being like slightly sophisticated with your training. It's probably, you think about it for like 2 seconds, you can probably figure out it's not a real good idea to max out certain movements like a preacher curl or an incline bench press, for example. Like, why would you max this out? Why are you 1 rep max testing an incline press?
Oh, here we go.
There's no purpose to this.
Here we go.
Got you.
Fuck, dude, I can't.
God, he had spotters. That would have been so much worse,
dude.
But no, like this, and this is kind of like getting away from. And I was gonna like chime in earlier, like you talked about the different crowds of the fitness industry. It's like you have this era of people wanting to like lift for Instagram lifters, your Instagram clout lifters, where it's like they want to just prove how strong they are at just random shit and then post it on the internet. Form be damned, purpose of training be damned. They just want to look strong and cool in the gym. And it's like, you know what? If that's you, good for you, whatever. Don't complain when you get hurt. But it's like, and this is where like being sophisticated with your training comes in. It's like, people gotta understand you're really not building or accomplishing much by doing really heavy singles in the gym. Unless you're like peaking for a competition.
Yep.
There's no reason to do a single in a gym. It's just because it's not enough time under tension to like create a stimulus for muscle growth or strength growth.
Yep.
It literally helps. It's basically skill acquisition at that point, which is like why you use it for peaking and only peaking in a powerlifting context. It learns you how to, it teaches your body how to work most efficiently under maximal loads for very short time periods.
Yep.
It doesn't make you stronger. It doesn't help you build muscle. So like doing something like a max rep incline press or a max rep preacher curl, you're not accomplishing anything with it. It's just because if you knew better, it would just be to look cool. But if you don't know what you're doing, you think you're accomplishing something bad, and you're just wasting your time, and then you get cases like this where you wind up hurting yourself because of it.
Yep.
And like, just think about it for 2 seconds, and you probably could have avoided that.
Yep, 100%. So after all this time, just looking at stuff, seeing everything, I think when I hear people say no form is bad form, all form is good form, just manage your load and you'll be fine, part of me goes, wait a minute though. And then when I hear if you're lifting like heavy, like a heavy triple, heavy double, and your form breaks down, then that's bad. I'm like, no, it's not, because it's not going to be pretty all the time. It all meets in the middle somewhere where you have to regulate it on both ends.
Yeah, most of the time the truth tends to lie somewhere in the middle, pretty much. And that's kind of like, and that's where like I love Squat U. I love a bunch of the information you can get from Squat U. They've done some great work, especially with powerlifting athletes even. But probably the most like played example of Squat U stepping out of their area of competence. And now bear in mind, I think his name's Aaron.
I think so.
for shit. Um, he's a doctor of physical therapy. Dude's wicked smart and knows a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Dr. Aaron. Scroll back up. I'm not.
Aaron, I don't know how to pronounce the
Um,
last name, but Aaron, yeah.
um, like his expertise is physical therapy, it's rehabilitating that have been hurt, primarily in like a general population context, but he seems to have experience with strength athletes too. He makes broken people better. What he did he had one post where it's like the lifter AB post
I
that he
remember
made.
that. That shit got a lot of.
Everybody remembers that because it got fucking shit posted so much. It's like, would you rather be lifter A who squats 600 pounds and has some form breakdown, or would you rather be lifter B who squats like 400 pounds with perfect technique? And he's like, I'd rather be lifter B because it's better and blah. It goes on some rant in the caption about how it's better, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, if you said like lifter A squats 600 pounds with absolutely egregious form, cuts it high, blows out a knee because of the rep, and is put out for weeks on end because of this rep, then yeah, I say go with lifter B.
Mm-hmm.
But lifter A, there's just a little bit of form breakdown because it's a max load rep,
Yep.
but he still does it and is totally fine after the fact, can recover and get back right back into training. It's a pretty that's a pretty hard fault of judgment where it's like, why wouldn't you want to be the stronger athlete, like significantly stronger athlete, 600 versus 400? Like,
Mm-hmm.
be that athlete and then like regulate your training. A little bit of form breakdown is not that big a deal.
Yeah.
But like that's an example of him being a physical therapist trying to step into the strength and conditioning development side of things, where it's like, you got to understand, like, not every rep is going to be perfect, and
Yeah.
there is a margin of error where a form breakdown is okay, and in fact expected, especially at
Yeah.
your maximal loads. So it's like, everything doesn't have to be perfect and look absolutely pristine
Yeah.
all the time.
Yep.
The goal is improvement,
Yep.
not perfection. I think that's one of like a really good thing to hammer into your head. The goal is to not go into the gym every single day and be absolutely perfect. The goal is to get better.
Yeah.
And there will be small little hiccups along the way.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's just like, if he can just stay out of like that kind of thing,
Yeah.
I would love all of his kind of stuff, because his rehab posts are freaking amazing. It's when he tries to tell like the super strong people how to get super strong when he himself is not super strong and he himself does not make people super strong.
Yeah.
So
I remember what you said reminds me of, I think it was Denzel Washington. He had a speech. He was like practice makes what perfect. He's like, wrong. Dismantle that belief.
I love that.
Practice makes progress, and that's what you should always. You'll never get to perfect, but as long
Practice
as
makes improvement. That's what the phrase was.
was it improvement or I could have swore it was progress.
I think it's improvement.
It was one or the other. But basically, as long as each time you're improving and getting better, that's all that matters at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But
that's where like philosophy stuff kind of starts to tie into the powerlifting, where it's like, if the goal is to always get better, you've got a never-ending goal. Then you always got something to chase.
Yep.
I'll dive into that more later.
My other favorite quote is, "The day you start lifting is the day you're small for the rest of your life."
Yeah, forever small.
And that's so true. No matter how big or strong you get, there's always the next milestone, And I love it. I tell people all the time, getting into the gym is one of the best things you can do for yourself. When you start to work out and you see the little accomplishments you make in losing a little bit of weight, gaining a little bit of muscle, getting a little bit stronger week after week, you start to think, oh, so I can reach my goals. And that will slowly leak into like your actual life, not all the time, obviously, but it does have that, effect that like, if I can reach my goals here, I can reach them anywhere,
No, like I have it, like one of the hashtags that I kind of coined that I like to use a lot. I put it in every single one of my posts. It's like hashtag more than just lifting weights. Like, yeah, this is yeah, there it is.
Yep.
I think I'm the only one who uses it, but no, it's like there's and again, like I've been like people make fun of like me for like taking this shit too seriously. Well, shit, other people are using it. What do you know? Um, but like I like been like picked on for like taking this shit too seriously. Like deep, like it's again we're just working out and blah 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 blah. It's like to some people, maybe not a lot of people, but especially like people like me, growing up in the gym and whose lives revolve around the gym in some capacity. It's like there are so many life lessons you can learn from the gym that are applicable to other settings where it's like, like just getting disciplined is like a fucking huge deal for not just like
Mm-hmm.
going to the gym, but like life in general. Like if you learn how to like be disciplined and stick with a routine and you learn that in the gym and learn to apply it in other like parts of your life, like career, family, relationships, like it serves you really well. And that's
Mm-hmm.
just one of the few things that you can learn and hone in the gym that will translate into other aspects of your life.
Yep.
Um, so like I tell people like this is like I legitimately this is why powerlifting is like legitimately my life because it taught me so much about who I am as a person and like how to go about things. Like it
Yep.
taught me how to like control my aggression, my anger. It makes me it helps me improve my mood.
Mm-hmm.
It's based around self improvement. You have to learn how to manage your time. If you want to get the most out of it, you have to optimize your nutrition out of it. You have to learn how to optimize your sleep. And there's so much that can go into this that you just keep piling on and on and on.
Mm-hmm.
That and all these little like skills, all these little tropes that you learn across all these different things that can go into it translate really well into the rest of your life. And I
Hundred
don't think
percent.
people quite understand that, but or maybe people just don't think that deeply about it.
Yep.
But like me being who I am, I can't not think that deep about things.
Dude,
Um,
we're on, yeah, we're right here.
I mean, God, that's like basically my Twitter feed in a nutshell is just like inner dialogues of shit that I just think
Mm-hmm.
about ad nauseum for hours on end. And it's like, okay, how can I condense this into 160 characters just for a cute little Twitter post?
Yep.
But yeah, I think about stuff a lot, and like this stuff, it runs deep with me, and a lot of people think it's silly, but yeah, it's who I am. So I
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah. No. I remember sometimes, like, as I was growing up, I am a very like not competitive person, I would say, but I'm a very like if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna fucking do it right.
Yeah, like
I'm
if
a
you're if something was worth doing, like you might as well be your best at it.
exactly
And
like here's a kind of silly example that I like to give. When me and my younger brother were growing up, we would have the task of cutting the grass, right? We'd have to cut the grass at the house. Okay.
right.
When I would cut the grass, I would cut that fucking grass. I would get I would get right up on the fence
I
line,
wrote this out this
fucking
long.
I'd make that shit look good. Like if I fucked up and like went a little too far over and there was some things sticking up, I would come back for those pieces of grass with a vengeance. Like
Yes,
you're
sir.
getting mowed and I'd make it look good. Okay?
Oh God.
And then well my brother got, older and it was his turn to cut the grass. He would go cut it and then I'd go out there and I'd be like, "Dude, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, you cut corners. You
You cut
failed.
corners, you did this, you did that, blah blah blah, And I've always like had this thing where it's like if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it well, which is like when I clean my car, turns into a 4 hour detail, you
Yeah.
know. And I've had people like call me like, "Oh, why are you such a tryhard? Why are you like get
Try
that
hard.
get that shit out of my face, bro? Like if you wanna if you're okay with being like mediocre and average when you do something, go ahead. I'm not that kind of person."
Yeah, and I totally get it. Like I try to not rip on people. Like I don't like the whole like mediocre average kind of like framework that you kind of like some people tend to like pit other people into because some people just aren't that detail oriented. Some people just aren't like they don't care about their quality of work as much, and that's okay. Totally get it. Um, I mean, part of that's just like how like it's the level of conscientiousness you are as a person. Like how hard do you want to work or enjoy working or are able to work, and how detail oriented are you going to be? How pristine are you going to make your work? Um, and I know like that's something in my I remember my stepdad talking to me about. It's like you can tell a lot about a man by how he conducts himself at his job.
Yep.
Because you'll get people, it's like they'll go about their job haphazardly, and it's like just as long as they get it done, yeah, it's good. But if you come across someone and it's like they're given a job or a task and like they do it, like they bust ass for it and do like the absolute best job they can possibly, like they break their back for it, right? That like that's someone you want to be around. That's someone you
Mm-hmm.
want to be, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. But I would just get frustrated when people would like, like when they'd call me a tryhard, I'd be like, dude, like there's reasons for all this.
Yeah, well, you take pride in your work. Like, don't bash
Exactly.
me because I take pride in my work. Come on.
Exactly. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I have a lot of pride for the things I like to do. So, because I feel like it's like a reflection of me. Like you put your time and effort into something to make it good, and then it gets shot down. It can be frustrating. But yeah, there was another thing I wanted to talk about here.
Oh, my man's got a bullet list. Don't know.
Yeah, I had to write some stuff down. Let's see. I'm gonna send you a message and see if you're cool with it.
Oh, I think I know where this is going.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying, I didn't want to just throw you on the spot.
No, throw me on the spot, dude. I'm pretty sure I'm already aware.
Okay. All right. So, for someone like yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had a conversation with a guy in the gym who was, asking about coaching and this and that, right? And then I heard him over talking to some of his friends, right? And they were talking about gear, okay?
Right.
And
for those who don't know, when we say gear, we mean steroids.
Steroids, yeah, steroids. So, I heard him talking about it, and obviously the guys he's talking to, they're on. One of them, 100% on, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about it, and he was like, yeah, like he had some like shoulder pain, but then he was also like, I'm gonna go get blood work done and this and that. And I was like, what you getting the blood work done for?
Mm-hmm.
For those of you that don't know, when you get on steroids and you want to do a cycle, it's very important to get blood work done and go to the doctor and figure out what's going on with your body before you just put anything in it. It's not as easy as going to buy some creatine and taking it 4 times a week. Okay, it's a whole different ball game. So I was just telling them like look, man, at the end of the day, you do whatever you want. Okay, you do whatever you want. If that's what you want to do, fine. But you have to remember, this is not something to take lightly. It's not a light decision. Like you have to really want it, and you got to be willing to put in twice the amount of work. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I think people have a negative perception where it's like, oh, like I want to get strong, I want to get big, I'll just take steroids and continue doing my thing, and then I'll get big and strong. Like,
oh no, this is a pet peeve of mine as well.
Like no, like I'm sure you probably have to work twice as hard, to really like to get out of it what you're trying to get out of it.
Oh no, that's something really important to understand when it comes to like steroids. It's like steroids fucking work tremendously. But the only like issue you run into with people, and again, when it comes like I get a harp on like being just slightly sophisticated with the kind of shit you do when it comes to the gym. It's like steroids are going to make you stronger and make you bigger, right? If well, they're going to regardless, but the degree that you get out of the degree of improvement you're going to get out of the steroids is fully dependent on how well structured your training is, how good your recovery is, and like how long you've actually been training, because that all affects muscle growth, strength growth, blah blah blah. It's like you will get people who don't have a clue in the world how to train, how to sleep, how to eat. They've only been trained or lifting in some capacity 2 or 3 years, maybe. Like they aren't even like halfway through their noobs yet, right? And they're like, yeah, I want to hop on steroids. It's like a few things. You have yet to learn how to even get the most out of your training first. That's like priority number one. That is bare bones minimum. If you aren't confident in, not even confident, if you aren't fully aware of like how to train um like smart and effectively,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have any business touching steroids. If you don't know how to like dial in your recovery, um, so like one really good standard I have for, or the standard I like to use, when talking about this kind of stuff in like a powerlifting context is like you should be able to achieve an elite total completely natural before you even think about touching steroids. Um, but it's like you get guys who are like 200-pound guys. They have like a total and like, oh yeah, I just need to hop on some fucking steroids, and like they think that's going to solve the problem. It's like, no, the steroids are only going to enhance the processes that are already put in place. If you haven't mastered those processes yet, like yeah, you'll get stronger, yeah, you'll get bigger, but you're also going to cause a lot more problems for yourself hopping on an
Yeah.
anabolic, because like, and this is like you talk about people like needing to understand how serious it is and how serious they need to take this. It's like it's going to fuck with your health. Um, and chances are, if you're not that delved into your training and your recovery and your nutrition, you're probably not going to take the time to really study up the ins and outs of steroid use. And you're probably just going to really, and this happens a lot, people will fuck up their hormones severely and then they're worse off than before they even touch them.
Yep.
Um, and this tends to happen is like you'll get guys where it's like they'll hop on like a full blast cycle, like from completely natty to a full on blast for like months and months and months, and they fry out their own testosterone production. They start to lose their hair. Their mood goes to shit. They're always angry or extremely depressed. They can't get their dick hard anymore. Like
Mm.
all this shit just
Mm.
happens within the span of like a year or two, because of how irresponsible and how stupid they were with the gear, that they have to come completely off. And now they have to get healthy again before they even can worry about getting strong and big. And it's
Yep.
like, and again, this is why when I harp on like learning the basics so much, it's like, if you should be able to get pretty freaking far being completely natural from just quality lifting, like quality training, quality nutrition, quality sleep,
Yep.
for years on end. And if you don't have like, if you're not trying to be like a top-notch power lifter or like have a super impressive physique, like do whatever the fuck you want. Yeah, it's your life, it's your body, but it's like it's kind of stupid to hop on something that's going to affect your health that negatively and that harshly just because you want to.
Yep.
Especially if you're going to be irresponsible with it.
Yep.
Like, and that's kind of like where it comes with like, I talk about not only needing to train hard, but also like being sophisticated with shit. It's like you have to be willing to learn how to lift. Not only just do the lifting,
Yep.
learn how to lift. Not only do the eating, learn how to eat. Not only do the sleeping, but learn how to sleep. Then you're going to throw steroids on top of that. Now you need to learn steroids,
Yep.
which is chemical composition and physiology. It's complicated. It's a lot. It's a lot of stuff that goes into all these fucking levels of shit.
It's levels to this shit.
A lot of levels of this shit. But like, and people again, they don't think about it that much. Like, it's not that deep to them.
Yeah.
They just think it's as simple as like
Yep.
busting ass in the gym, and then hey, I'll just juice the fuck up, and all my dreams will come true. And
It's not like
then
that.
they get this rude awakening, and it's just like it's a mess. It's a
100%.
mess.
So I told him, I was like, look, dude, at the end of the day, it's your life. You can do whatever you want with it, right? I'm not here to preach to you or try to deter you. I was like, but that
Deter
is,
'em a little bit.
I was like, but when I what I did tell him was like, that is a serious decision. Like you have to be willing to work twice as hard. There's so much more that goes into it, and at the point you're at right now, you can develop so much just being 100% natural, right?
Oh, and that's another thing that like you're talking about, like working twice as hard. It's like you're able to go so much harder in the gym taking steroids that your recovery becomes that much more important. And if
100%.
that's not already like pristine and dialed in, you go on gear. Now, like, yeah, you're gonna get stronger and bigger, but now the rest of your body is gonna start taking the brunt of your like your shitty recovery and your shitty eating habits.
Yep.
And that's when people's health starts to go to shit.
Yep.
So it's like not only you're not getting what you could get out of the steroids for your muscles, you're also fucking your health.
Yeah. And he looked at me, and I still consider myself an intermediate powerlifter. Okay. My numbers aren't anywhere to the point that's going to give me any sort of notice. But for the commercial gyms, I'm a strong guy. 230 pounds. I'm a pretty big boy. Right. And, and he looks at me. He's like, and you're completely natural. I'm like, I'm 100% natural, dude. I'm like, I'm pretty big. I'm kind of strong.
Oh,
but
no, bro, you take that creatine.
Yeah, well, I was like, okay, a little bit of creatine, but you know, I was like, but everything that I've built so far has been off of just eating and working out right and working out as smart as I think I can, you know, and just building off of that. I'm like, so, you know, you're this age, you want to get bigger, you have so much room to grow just off of just being natural and developing your body. I was like, later down the road, and if you have serious ambitions of like becoming a top of the line power lifter, a phenomenal bodybuilder, then it's time to take some of those serious decisions into consideration. But it's not something you do because you got a couple buddies that do it too. You know, it's not a couple buddies. It's not, you know, it's not how you want to make that decision.
I'm gonna send you something on Instagram real quick that I think would be worth showing. Just to give a little bit of context to people who are unfamiliar with me. Like I sent you a message.
Okay.
Of one of my posts. Like I was able to like rep 600 pounds on squats, bench over 400 pounds, and deadlift like mid 600 pounds before I ever touched gear. Like, so this was like 2 weeks before I actually like hopped on anything. So it's like, you know, you can already see I have a pretty decent muscle build. Like I'm nearly as big as I am now.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, a 601 fucking squat at like 215, like weighing 215, 214. I was only 22 here. Like that's a pretty that's pretty up there as far as like
that's pretty
but it's like you tell people like, yeah, completely natural to this point, they don't fucking believe you. And it's like it kind of it speaks to like how disconnected Gen Pop is out of how disconnected they are from the effects of PEDs and just what is attainable.
Yep.
Completely.
Because I'm going to be honest here. And this is when I sent you that message. Because I remember when I followed you, we had broken through the 600-pound squat barrier roughly around the same time.
Hey.
I did it in reps. You broke through it, I think, at a little bit more weight. I think you got through at like 630 something. I had, you know, done it with like 600 flat.
Comp and sleeves like a few months before this.
Okay, yeah. So and this was May 2021. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I remember I followed you and we had broken through the 600-pound squat barrier, I think roughly around the same time. Mm-hmm. Your bench was much better than mine. I'm finally, my bench is really starting to click for me and I'm very happy with it. And deadlift. One of your videos about setting your back up in the deadlift, fucking game changer. But I remember, and then after a couple years, I watched the numbers just skyrocket, just from like 600 something squat to mid 7 squat in terms of, it was like 2 years. In the back of my head, there was a part of me in the back of my head that got very discouraged. I was like, damn, you know, like, God, this guy's leaps and bounds going above, and I'm still like struggling with like, you know, a mid 500 squat. You know, so like you said, it is important for people to understand like the level that PEDs can take you, but the amount of time and dedication that you put into your training and everything else, that's what really takes it, you know, above and beyond, you know?
Oh yeah. It's totally worth like mentioning to people. It's like, I've been lifting weights for over a decade before I ever touched any sort of PEDs at all. So like for example, my last natural competition was the Hybrid Showdown 3 back in last February. I squatted 683 in that comp. Keep going, keep going, keep going.
That was wraps,
I
right?
Yeah, it was my first meet in wraps and was my last natty meet. Like go back up, go back up. Right
Right there.
there.
This one.
See there?
Oh, loud as shit.
That's like full meet recap. So that's like 534. Yeah, that was my 1st
Mm-hmm.
meet. 6 months later, did 585. At college nats. I was always a slow fucking squatter.
Squat you would disapprove.
That's nat. That's drug tested nats. Did 606,
Mm-hmm.
and then 6 months later, and first time in wraps, I did 683. Right. And that was my last natty meet.
Mm-hmm.
Was the Hybrid Showdown. And then I went on some gear, not a lot. It's
Mm-hmm.
also very worth mentioning, like being sophisticated when it comes to going on gear.
Yeah.
Like minimal necessary dose is the name of the game. You take as little as fucking possible, and you don't add in more than one thing at a. Like I know a lot of guys who really fuck themselves their first cycle ever. Their coaches threw them on testosterone and anadrol and tren and then like D-ball, like all these things all at the same time. And then they didn't get a lot out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because well, first of all, they hadn't established that base level development yet. But like yeah, like for my first cycle, all I ran was like a low dose of testosterone.
Yeah.
And like from that last squat you saw in the video, 683 in reps,
Mm-hmm.
about that was in February. So 6-7 months later, I competed in September, early September at a USPA North Carolina meet. I squatted 771. So like I put 100 pounds on my squat in 6 months. So it's like, and that's kind of where you'll have cases like me where it's like I'm a super responder to the gear,
Mm-hmm.
but that's because of how much of a foundation I had from lifting weights for over a decade
Yep.
before I ever touched the stuff.
Yep.
And that's something like people just really don't understand. Is like, you know, if you want to get the most out of PED use and not completely wreck your body, you need to master all the basics
Yep.
first and have done it for a long, long time.
Get the most out of your body.
Yeah.
Now that we're talking about gear, little question.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these lifters that we see in the USAPL.
I know where this is going.
Do we think that they're all 100% natural? Top USAPL competitors?
Some of them, yes. A lot of them. Okay, I'm not going to name names.
Me neither.
I know of several top-notch USAPL lifters who I have spoken to about their drug cycles and cycling off so that they can actually pass a drug test on in comp.
Mm-hmm.
They're not like the number one lifters in some.
Yeah.
And then there's also some people where it's like I know they're sellers and I've seen the shit in their bag, and and they've also asked some of my own friends if they happen to have some they could use. So there's plenty of top-notch lifters in the USAPL who do run stuff, and just so one really good tell for a lifter who does this is if their training lifts are significantly higher than their comp lifts. Funny story. Excuse me. I competed drug tested for like my first 2 years in powerlifting, and excuse me. Sorry, I had a big breakfast. But there was a guy who cycled off for like me and him were friends. He cycled off for a comp, a drug tested comp that I was reffing at, and I knew what kind of stuff he was running in the off. long enough for his test levels to be low enough to not break the ratio barrier that's allowed for a drug tested meet. This was USPA, right?
Mm-hmm.
But again, I was aware that he was running stuff, and so was a lot of other people. It was a local meet. We
Yeah,
all
yeah,
knew the guy, and he pops on a drug. We had him drug tested like in the off season, and he pops. Of course,
mm-hmm.
there's more of that than some people think in the USAPL, but it's not everybody. There are
Yeah.
some absolutely.
So
God, what's his name?
when it
Go
when
ahead.
when it comes to me speculating on PED use, there's two things that I look for. One, how much raw lean muscle they keep on their frame constantly. Right? That's one thing that I look for. Two is I look to see if there are lifts that don't stack up to other lifts. Right? So for example,
Those are pulling up people, bro. No, we can't do this.
I'm gonna just keep it real. I really like Angelo for this reason. Angelo has
Fortino. Come on, bro.
Angelo has a phenomenal deadlift, right? But even he says like, okay, you know, he struggles with his bench. Okay, to me, I think if you are on like gear, your lifts all shoot at the same time. You get what I'm saying?
I kind of see what you're saying. Like overall strength level.
Yeah. So it's like you see Angelo, phenomenal deadlift, super strong, right? And his bench is not in like the upper fours. Part of me goes, okay, you know, Angelo's most likely natural.
Oh, I thought you were about to call him out.
No. Don't do that. No. I wouldn't call anybody out like that. You know, a lot of people's lifting and stuff rely on their like. I mean, a lot of people's like career also rely on their public image. You know, so
career.
You know, it's their career. But Angelo is someone that I really admire because he's not like stupid lean and peeled all the time. His lifts and his training seems to be very sensible. He's not banging out singles and doubles every other week, you know, just incredible high percentages, you know, and super strong deadlift. But, you know,
his technician, very clean lifter.
Yeah, exactly. But his deadlift, right, is still in a place where he probably would really like to see it improve. You know, so things like that's what I look for. If you have a very proficient lift, one of the lifts, and we can see like, okay, you're very good at executing that lift, and there's another lift that kind of lags behind and doesn't stack up to the numbers that your other lifts are at. To me, okay, that person's probably natural, right? But to me, when you are super lean, incredible amounts of muscle mass that are really visible and all your lifts are up there, then that's an indicator for me, okay, probably on something. You know,
I mean, it's really not worth it's too much of a headache to really get into the speculations of things when it comes to if someone's natty or not. I trust the system enough to where, first of all, no one really gives a shit about drug tested powerlifting. They just don't. They just care about powerlifting. If you're strong, you're strong.
Yep.
If you want to use it as like a bragging right or as like a little homage to yourself, like, yeah, I'm drug free. I did this all drug free. Makes me a better lifter. Whatever. Good for you, dude. No one really gives a shit. You're not one winning money meets. So it's like, I trust the system enough for like the magnitude of the drug tested divisions to bust the fake natty lifters enough to where it's not that big a deal. Now again, granted, there have been plenty of lifters who have gotten busted or PA or USAPL nationals.
Yeah.
And their careers get dragged through the mud. And then they just go into a non-tested fed and then they rebound.
Yeah.
There have been several lifters like that are really big name now.
Yeah.
Now, again, probably the biggest tell for shit like that is when you have a lifter who like loses 50 pounds on each of their lifts come comp.
Okay. Yeah.
In the gym. That's kind of like,
I see what you're saying. My boy pointed that out to me because I'd be like, oh man, this guy's training like lifts are crazy and da. He was like, bro, he hit all those lifts in the gym and couldn't get anywhere near him in competition.
Yeah.
Come on, dog. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, you got a point. You got a point.
Yeah. And I don't mean like, you miss your best lift by 10, 20 pounds, but I mean like every single lift is not even in the ballpark of your best lifts in the gym.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something going on in the back.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows?
It's not, again, it's also just hearsay.
Yeah.
Like speculation bullshit, because we don't know. There are plenty of absolute genetic freaks who are just like, they can be super lean, shredded, strong as fuck all year round and not touch a fucking chemical in their life. Good for them. They're very rare, and but they're also not non-existent. So I don't know.
So do we do this?
Okay.
When it comes to the Olympics and powerlifting, do we just have federations that don't do nothing and we just see
Powerlifting doesn't belong in the Olympics.
let's see what everybody can do. Let's see what the human body can
I can't think of a more boring of a way to make powerlifting even more boring than to throw it into the Olympics, man.
No, not throw it into the Olympics. I mean, like, because the Olympics is very big on like drug free, right?
Yeah.
USAPL is big on like we're a drug free federation, and that's where the meme comes from. Drug tested, not drug free. So do we just say who cares? Who cares about the use? Let's see what the human body really can do. Let's see what
pretty much every single Fed except for the USAPL. They're the only ones that really care.
Yeah, that's true.
Like USPA has a drug tested division, but again, that ploy to pull people from the USAPL because they were doing all that shit with their members and the regulations around nationals and all that kind of bullshit. So it was a good marketing move for USPA to offer a drug tested division, and then even some individual meet directors and other federations, like, they allow for drug testing if you want it. So like, if some people care about it, most people don't give a shit. They just want you to be strong. So
yeah.
I don't think we should get rid of the drug tested divisions. Like, if that's some people's shtick, then whatever. But again, it doesn't really matter. Like, it's powerlifting. Just do your fucking.
Yeah. And I agree. There's a lot of lifters out there that have enormous clout, and people just love to see them lift. And we all can probably speculate. Okay, they're probably on. But most people, like you said, they don't care because the lifts are ridiculous, regardless.
The only time I ever have like a real issue with it is you get people who like adamantly and openly claim natty and are not.
Yep.
Like, if you're gonna like try to put yourself up on a high horse claiming that you're natty and you think you're like a better lifter or a better person because you are natty and you're doing all this shit without touching the bad chemicals and all this stuff, and then you pop on a drug test, you look like an asshole. You are an asshole, and fuck you.
Yep.
Because that's not cool.
Yeah.
You're lying to everybody and you're putting up this false persona.
In powerlifting, you don't see it a lot in powerlifting, but some of like the fitness influencer industry, you see a lot of that there, and that's why people like, I don't know if you know him, but this guy on YouTube is called Philion, and
I don't know.
Okay, well, his shtick for a while was like calling out the fitness influencer industry, like, bro, you guys aren't natural, you guys are on gear, and it's very disingenuous that you're marketing this to your younger impressionable audience. I
think I've seen the video, but I wasn't familiar with the guy's name. But there's a like, I kind of fell into the realm of TikTok as well, just because I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna see what this is about.
Shit is a black hole, dude.
I know there's this one guy on TikTok. He comes up on my feed a lot. He has like super jacked and like pristine, like bulky abs, and he always rubs himself with like baby oil for his videos and shit. And he's one of those guys that markets is like, here's the secret to getting shredded abs. You go through his comment section, it's just like little needles and steroids and like, that shit. It's like, it's one thing to like advertise like a good ab routine or like fitness ideas and how to get strong. It's another reason to like over the top bullshit people with the secrets, when in actuality you're a guy who's been lifting for a long time and juiced out of your fucking mind. So yeah, there's a lot of that in the like influencer side of things.
The influencer sees it a lot. Powerlifting, not so much. kind of, but the influencer stuff, that it's fucked up to see, the way they market themselves, especially to the
Oh,
young impressionable kids.
what's real bad is when you get the influencers who are also power lifters and all they fucking do are gym lifts and then like absolutely shit the bed every single comp. A few
Yep.
people come to mind when I say that, huh?
Yeah. Oh man. Oh. All right. So coaching and powerlifting aside,
Mhm.
and I don't want to get too into the weeds of it because this guy, it can be a little controversial depending on who you ask about. Okay, who you ask him about. But you seem to be a very big fan of Dr. Jordan Peterson.
Oh, I love Jordan Peterson. Yeah.
I have mixed emotions about Mr. Jordan Peterson. There's a lot of his stuff that I looked at and I'm like, great advice. But he does have a lot of really good stuff and a lot of stuff that I took in and was like, I should do that. I haven't read any of his books. I do want to read the first book he met was 10 Rules to Life.
12 Rules for Life.
12 Rules for Life.
Second or third book. His first book that was popular, he wrote Maps of Meaning. That is a very hard read, but if you're into psychology and religious thought, it's a really great book. It'll take you months to read.
Yeah, I really want to get into those and see what they're all about. But aside from Jordan Peterson obviously seems to be an inspiration. The gym also really helped out. Are there any other areas in your life that have really kind of helped you kind of grow as a person and change your perspective and the way you view the world?
I mean, primarily, definitely my mom. Like my mom was a very big influence on me because, I call her the superhero mom just because she was fucking phenomenal. As far as raising me, my sister, and my brother. And then alongside with my stepdad, because my biological dad, we'll just say he was out of the picture for the
Okay.
most part, right? Um, but no, there was a period of time where it's I just didn't have a father figure in my life. And my mom, she picked up the slack. Obviously there are gonna be some issues that arise when you don't have a father figure around growing up as a young boy. Um, and there was this really long gap where when my stepdad stepped into the picture, I was still very standoffish towards him. Me and him never got close until I was 17. So pretty much from the time I was 3 to 16, 17, I didn't have a significant masculine father figure in my life,
Yeah.
or that was at least influential on my life. So in my mom, she picked up the slack as best she could. She was an absolutely awesome provider and care for me and my sister and my but that was I started getting more closer to my stepdad when I was a young adult. This was right before I went off to college and stuff, and that's kind of when I delved into the stuff with Jordan Peterson because um when you're a young man and growing up, you have lots of questions, lots of things you really want to understand, right?
Yeah.
And not having a masculine perspective to go to your father, it leaves a bunch of holes in your development and just things that just don't make sense.
Yeah.
And that's kind of and this is something that a lot of people have said about stuff that they've heard and listened to from Jordan Peterson is they look at him kind of like a father figure. And I don't want to upplay this and make it sound overly cheesy. It's he told psychological, religious, and philosophical stories and lessons, lectures that helped me put together a lot of things that just did not make sense in my mind.
Okay.
And also growing up, struggling with everybody in my family, depression runs in our family and has for generations. So um, mental health and mental stability was always a big problem for me and my sister and my brother, especially. Um, so when I went off to college, I felt it was a very um, the university I went to required us to live on campus,
Mm-hmm.
and I lived on campus. like an hour and a half away from home. Nothing too crazy, but I went in as an engineering major. So didn't exactly have a lot of time to travel back home to see. So I was pretty much like on
Yeah.
my own. So from a very non-developed structure to on my own in the middle of college in a career or in
Field.
a college track that I didn't even
Oh.
want to be in.
Yeah.
So, and this is when I kind of like started looking for answers about shit that just didn't make sense in my head. So like what I wanted to do out of life, who I was like temperamentally, that was a really big thing I wanted to learn about. What it is I wanted to like accomplish, and then also at the same time, like this was around the same time I was really struggling with my faith.
Mm-hmm.
Like I grew up a Christian, like grew up in a Baptist church and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. But it was in the middle of the Bible Belt. Like I grew up in the South Carolina, and
Mm.
it was very Bible thumper Baptist kind of vibe where you can't ask questions about the Bible because how dare you whack.
Exactly.
And
Yep.
so also I had a bunch of unanswered questions that I needed to make sense about myself, religion, and just life in general. And typically like that's kind of where the father figure steps in for like encouragement for their son. It's like, this is what a good man is. This is what they're meant to do. This is the kind of track they follow. And then if you grow up in the religious context, then you can tie those same lessons in with the religious stories if you explain what the stories mean. And
Yeah.
that was always a really big issue with church in general, is that they would tell you the stories and you were meant to take them as like historical fact, but they
Yeah.
never actually break down the context behind them. And that's why I love Jordan Peterson's material so much, is because he broke down the psychological significance and the mythological significance of the biblical stories. It was great. And like, it made sense of first of the Bible. So it helped me like realign my faith.
Yeah.
And then it also, one of his big things is the self-authoring program, where it like helps you, like you basically do an autobiography and you like lay out a 5-year plan. Bunch of people do 5-year plans, and that was the first time I ever like, we had tried doing them in high school,
Yeah.
but it's fucking high school. Who knows what
Yeah.
they want in high school, right? Um, so this is the first time where it's like, I need to take this up, actually like understand what it is I want to do with my life, because I'm in college. I'm about to shell out tens of thousands of dollars for this damn education and set a
Mm-hmm.
track for the rest of my life. I might want to have this shit straightened out, right? So yeah, he pretty much like the teachings. And again, is politics aside, like I don't
Yeah. Yeah.
understand why people decided to take a um a clinical psychologist and philosopher and like pull him into the political and then berate him for his political opinions on stuff. And he has some insights on some of the political things, but it's like that's not his thing. That's not why people are drawn
Yeah.
to his message. He's a psychologist and a philosopher, and like that kind of stuff is his wheelhouse, and it has tons of great information.
It does. It really does.
It's and when I tell you it changed my life, I fucking mean that. But if we want to get into the politics of some of the stuff he said, we can. I don't know if that's
Well, so I haven't promoted it on my personal Instagram, but I've taken all my very dear things that I like and I've split them into different places for me. My main Instagram account is for things like this podcast, talking to people. I love talking to people, right? Interest, gym, whatever. I have my coaching Instagram where I do that's like my brand, so to speak, right? Bushido strong training, yada yada. And then I made another one recently that I called Really Dumb Politics. Okay. I get I get really into politics. More so than I should. It turns me into a doomer sometimes, but I can't help it. I feel like a lot of that stuff is very important to pay attention to some degree, because these are the world leaders that they run things. So it's a little bit important to make sure we at least have some understanding as to what's going on. But I know a lot of people don't like that, and I try to separate people's political views from who they are as a person, because
Yeah, not a lot of people are really good at that, I've noticed.
they're not. They're really not. You know, I try my best to do so. Obviously, you have some people on both sides that are just way over the top, and it's like, okay, I can't deal with this. You know. But I try my best to like put that stuff aside and look to see if someone like, okay, are they a good person? Do they care about other people? You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm mainly concerned about. So I split all that stuff apart so that I could have a place to talk about that. If you want to tune in and see what I have to say about it, cool, it's there. And I have a YouTube channel where last night I did a video on Russia and Ukraine.
Yeah, that's
So, you know, all that stuff will be there. So if you want to see, you can check it out. But hopefully it doesn't deter you from the person that I am, right? So that's kind of why I did all that.
That's why I kind of stopped posting anything relevant to the political sphere a couple of years ago, just because it's like, my Instagram page is coaching.
Yeah.
People don't give a shit about my politics. If they want to know, they can ask me.
Yeah.
I used to be really, really into politics. Like, I'm very much the argumentative type. Not because like I want to like come at people, but it's like I enjoy, like, I'm like you, I like talking and discussing ideas. And like an argument doesn't have to be like malicious. Like you can argue with someone and still be friends with them at the end of the day. But not a lot of people feel that way when it comes to agreements, and because they feel like if you disagree with their idea, you disagree with the person.
Yeah, exactly.
So shit can get a little too heated, and also just that, when you're a high schooler, when you're like an insightful high schooler, and also like I'm smarter than like the brag or anything, but it's like IQ level intelligence. It's like you have a grasp on things different than other people.
Yeah, I feel like
The way your brain functions, you tend to have a lot of opinions and perspectives on things that people just don't like understand and or care about.
exactly.
And so like, you'll get into a circular argument with people who are just blabbering about nothing. And it's like, well, here are a few like very valid points. Have you ever considered this? And they're like, fuck you. So yeah, that was not worth being in the middle of.
It's very tough. Sometimes when I'm going through Instagram comments and like trying to like talk to people, you run into a lot of that. But then sometimes you run into people that have very good like, well, but what about this? Or what about that?
Yeah.
It's tough to find those people, but it's very nice when you actually do, but a lot of the issues and topics out there, I can understand why some people would take it very personal, especially like if you're on the receiving end of a bad political policy, or you know what I'm saying. But yeah, I try to keep all that stuff separate, because at the end of the day, like whatever it is that whoever you voted for, as long as you and me can go to dinner, have a drink, and have a good time, that's what matters at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, people, like, it's really important to like understand like people aren't their politics.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, politics can be a reflection of like their personality or their beliefs, or sometimes, or a lot of the time even. But just because you guys disagree on politics, you can't be friends, you can't get along, or it doesn't even mean that you necessarily see things differently. It's just you might actually see different ways of going about addressing the same problem.
Yeah. Or not just that. I mean, you might have just grown up in different environments that, you don't have that perspective. So you obviously, someone might not see it that way.
Yeah, and this is why talking is good. It's like you might, hey, let's talk about it. Maybe we'll both come away with something more accurate or more appropriate for the situation. And it's like, but you get people where it's like, and I've gotten in trouble with this several times, where it's like, especially with my friends, because I tend to think that if I'm friends with someone, like I would want a friend. If I was saying something very ignorant, egregious, stupid, I wouldn't mind if my friend like calmly, politely like called me out on it and be like, hey, that's not quite how things are. Have you considered this, this, and this? And we talk about it.
Yeah.
I've done that a few times with some of my previous friends. And they completely blow it out of proportion. Like they get very angry and defensive about it. And it's like I try to be as like tactful and polite with it as I possibly can be, but they still take it very personal and feel like I'm attacking them. So it's like I've kind of I've learned to be more careful with who I bring up politics around. And I especially like prefer to keep it off of a public forum just because it's just not the place for it. It's really hard to have like
it's very hard
intelligent, in-depth dialogue with people over like freaking Twitter feeds and Instagram comments.
And this is why that's why I stay off Twitter. Because Twitter, dude, Twitter is fucking radioactive, man. Oh my God. I saw somebody talking about it though, and they were like, he thinks the reason Twitter is like that, because you only have 100 and something characters to make your statement or make an argument. And because it's so short, people fall into, oh, you got owned culture, where everybody just wants to have the snappy comeback, the snappy gotcha, the you just got railed in the marketplace of ideas, you know, or
it's literally like fucking mainstream media news. It's like, who can say the most like provocative, quippy, short, entertaining gotcha thing now kind of stuff. And it's no place for a dialogue. It's like, if that's your thing, it's fun. It can be real fun to like give you a little gotcha one line for being stupid, but
it's fun for like when something pops off and there's a bunch of memes. Like every Sunday night when the new Euphoria episode comes out, oh, the memes are fantastic. They're so good.
Stay off Twitter around Mondays and shit though, because it spoils Attack on Titan for me.
Oh, okay. Well, anyways, the political stuff aside, there was one thing I wanted to ask you. Back to the center here. There was one thing I wanted to ask you. Let me run a concept by your brain and see what you think. Sumo deadlift is not easier than the conventional deadlift, but the sumo deadlift can be more tactical than the conventional deadlift. What do you think about that?
It's definitely a more technical lift, absolutely. I think the biggest thing when it comes to like sumo is that balance becomes much more of an issue. So there's a much smaller margin of error for when you're pulling sumo than when you're pulling conventional. Because if you get thrown forward or crunched forward even a little bit on a sumo, you can't really save it like you can in a conventional just because of the way your hips are positioned.
Yeah.
Sumo is also a lot more reliant on the lateral torque through the glutes and the hips to actually keep them in place so that they don't like come away from the bar and you lose that leverage position. So it's not that way. So yeah, it's just a much more technical than conventional is. You like if the bar drifts away from you, if you got a really strong back, you can save it. But if the bar drifts away from you in a sumo, then now all your weight is on your toe and you like fall forward. You don't have nearly as much forward and backwards leverage on your feet to be able to correct your balance back because your feet are turned so far out. So it's stuff like that. Same thing with the hips. If you lose that lateral torque to keep your hips in position and your adductors kind of like pull your legs back in, if you already got the bar off the ground, you're not gonna just like put that back into position. It's not gonna happen. Then that's how people lose the lift. Yeah.
I'm trying to pull something up here.
Oh, Amanda. Hey.
Yeah. Phenomenal lifter. Okay, but so what I mean by sumo is more tactical. Sumo gives you the benefit that you can play around with leverages to a much higher degree than you can with conventional.
Oh, it's much more leverageably advantageous.
Yeah. So conventional, you have a starting position. That's it for your body. That is the starting position. You don't get any better than that. Sumo, you do have the ability that if you have very long arms and the mobility in your hips to kick them out, right? The lift is more advantageous for you. Okay?
Oh yeah.
Right? So that's what I try to think. Sumo's not easier, but it can be more tactical depending on how you play around with it.
It's a different beast, essentially.
Yeah, it's a different beast. And I am of the big believer when it comes to the compound lifts, especially squat and deadlift. Center of gravity is the name of the game, right? When it comes to these lifts, the moment that bar travels away from your center of gravity during a lift, shit goes downhill fast.
Especially when you're talking in the context of a one max.
100%. So, and here's what I mean. This is the only example I guess I can give. Maybe she'll do it on this one. Maybe she'll do it, maybe not. But this is something that I've had like a theory with when it's come to the sumo deadlift that I kind of try. Okay, you see that right there? Mm-hmm. Did you see that?
She kind of gets thrown forward a little bit, yeah.
Okay, so sometimes when I see people pull sumo, or it can even happen in conventional too, they'll have what I think is like a premature extension of the legs before they really start to bring their hips forward, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And then when that happens, the bar's no longer sitting in your center of gravity. You're not stacked into the bar because now your legs lock out and then you have a more aggressive hinge in the movement.
Your back has to pull your torso over your hips.
It's got to pull your torso over, which makes the lift that much more difficult to execute at the end. And that's what
you go ahead.
And that's what I try to tell people when it comes to like sumo or even deadlift. You want to pay attention to these things because you don't want to make the lift harder for yourself. You don't want to make yourself work extra hard. You know, if you can kind of master a slightly different position when you're coming to your execution, like squats, right? If you low bar squat, but you don't have enough practice out of the hole that your torso and hips come up together and you can stay stacked under the bar and your hips shoot up first, well, guess what? Now the bar is moving away from your center of gravity and it's a much harder lift. And that's why you end up having people having a good morning their squats.
Oh yeah, and this is kind of where again, I'm gonna loop back around to like just being sophisticated when it comes to the training. It's like you'll get people where it's like they think it's only a matter of getting stronger in their lifts, and they're not actually like thinking of how they're performing the lifts. And this is like telltale sign of like people who are sumo pullers are wanting to be sumo pullers. Is they'll pull it like a conventional lift, whereas like they'll drive really hard with their legs off the ground, but they lose that hip position. And it's kind of like what we saw with Amanda's video. And again, not ripping on Amanda. She's a phenomenal lifter.
Yeah.
One of the best lifters of all time.
Mm-hmm.
But like you'll see this with a lot of newer to sumo, is that they don't time the extension of their hips with the extension of their legs because they're so worried about like pushing with their legs off the ground.
Yep.
And that's where you see like with conventional, it's a much more lower back dominant movement than sumo is. And it's like, again, Fortino, he's great at this because again, real smooth lockout and his hips punch underneath his torso. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have to use his lower back to pull his torso over top of his hips.
Exactly. He has a very well-timed lockout.
Yeah, so a part of that is like especially when it comes to learning sumo and it being much more of a technical lift, is allowing the tension in your legs and glutes to be there and build up and stay in position until that tension is built up and those the muscles are recruited to fire enough to actually bring the bar up in unison with the rest of your body. A lot of people and especially because like your quads are really big strong muscles, your glute max, biggest muscle in the body, one of the strongest muscles. However, your glute med, like your external rotators, your adductors, your erectors, not as big muscles, not as much potential for generating force, especially in a quick time frame or short time frame. So where a lot of people will really lose their sumo is that they will try to be so quick and fast off the floor, and their quads are able to produce that massive amount of force right out the gate, but they don't give themselves that extra half a second to a second to let the external glutes really build that tension to keep the hips in place to like gradually break the bar off of the ground, as opposed to try to just like pop the bar off the ground really hard out of the
Yep.
bottom. So this is kind of what people talk about with being patient off the floor. Being patient off the floor is literally making sure you keep all that lateral tension set and focus on extending with your hips in unison with the leg extension.
Yep.
That's where people lose. That's
Mm-hmm.
and again, if you lose that, you're pulling conventional. You're just in a sumo stance.
Yep.
That's the biggest technical difference between sumo and conventional. It's not just that your feet are wider; it's that you have to actually allow and consciously keep your external glutes tied in with the movement as you go to perform it. If
Yeah.
you lose that, then you might as well not be pulling sumo.
Here's an example of a sumo puller that's fucking gorgeous. You know Daniel Clements?
Yeah.
I mean, textbook.
I mean, no, like real slow, like gradual acceleration off the floor. He's not hitting it super hard. I think of it as like ramping, or not ramping, like put it right.
Yeah.
But like, or like accelerating. When you're in a car, we're not. Probably one of my favorite expressions from my old friend Jeff. He's passing away now, but he was a great influence from Upstate Barbell from back in South Carolina. One of his big sayings was steamroller, not race car. As powerlifters, we're not going from 0 to 100 instantly.
Yeah.
You have to get through gear 1, gear 2, gear 3, gear 4, and then you're, especially with like, that's probably the best way to like conceptualize sumo, is that you have to let that tension build, and then the second it starts to moving, it really gets fucking moving.
Yep.
So yeah,
I've had a similar thing that I've told some of my athletes that are pulling sumo or squatting, whether it's high bar or low bar, is I tell them, stack yourself under the bar, right? You don't want to be in an uncomfortable, like leveraged position. You want to be like stacked under the bar and just think straight up, right?
Yep.
That's the name of the game, and I've found a lot of really good success with that.
I mean, position is going to be the name of the game. Like, it doesn't matter how strong you're in position to be to work the most optimally. I don't care how fucking strong you are. You're going to get outlifted by the tiny little dude who stayed in position.
Yeah, like Angelo actually talked about that when the Squat U thing came out, and he was like something along the lines of like, I've competed against people who are 1,000 times stronger in the gym, and when it comes to competition time, they shit the bed, and I know how to execute my lifts in competition. You know, it's execution. You know, being strong is just being strong. Being strong to competition standards is a different animal.
Oh yeah, and this is why I tell people who they want to get into powerlifting and competing, even if they're like super strong in the gym or whatever. It's like, it's one thing to be strong in the gym. You need to learn how to compete now if you actually want to get into powerlifting, because your approaches to like lifting on meet day is way different than your approach to going in for like a really hard training session. You have to be very tactful with it, and you have to like, everything has to be dialed the fuck in. And if you get inside your own head on meet day when you're on the platform in front of like, shit can hit the fan really fucking quick. And I'll admit, this has been one of my own problems, especially around third attempts. I'll sometimes get a little too amped and I'll rush shit. And like, that's caused me to miss some third attempts. I've never gone 9 for 9 in them. The best I've done is 8 for 9.
Yeah.
And the big part of that is like, I've always pulled sumo in comp, and like I will very often rush my position out of the bottom just because I'm like, all right, really got to get this fucking lift, and I
gotta get this lift, and the ammonia. People are slapping you. Everyone's like, come on.
Yeah, everyone's just yelling up. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I've learned to like pull back from that a little bit more now.
Yeah.
And like, it's served me better, but still work in progress. Learning to trust yourself to like lift well and not relying on the hype too much.
And see, and that's and the new space of that is coaching, right? I've heard the sentiment of let athletes explore movement. You know, you don't need to drill in this and that and that and this for good form, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't agree with that. I think if you come to me because you want to be better at your squat, bench, and deadlift and get strong and learn how to compete, if I think there's certain deficiencies within your movement, we're going to work real hard to address those first, because I want you to build confidence in the way you're moving. I don't want you to unrack a heavy triple, double, or single and worry, am I going to hit depth? Am my knees going to go where they're supposed to? Am I going to do this? Am I going to do that? You know, am I going to pull and something's going to go weird, and am I going to misgroove? You know,
I mean, there's some truth to like both of those, because it's like you have like there's technique, but then there's also style. Like the technique is more so like those base universals for people,
yeah.
where it's like balance over midfoot, um, making sure you're tensioning your back,
Mm-hmm.
like make sure you're grabbing like securely on the bar, that kind of stuff. You want to make sure the hips and the shoulders rise in unison. Like that's basic technique stuff.
Yeah.
When it comes to like style, that's kind of where like I guess you could say a lifter is like well explore. Like as long as a lifter is like the bar path is tracking straight up and down, like for a squat
Mm-hmm.
example, bar path is tracking straight up and down, the knees are tracking in line with their pinky toe
Yep.
or with their toes in general. They're able to hit depth, they look strong, they feel comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
and like they're extending with their hips and knees at the same time, and it looks good. That's what we're looking for.
Yep.
Now, whether they do it in a super wide stance like a sumo squatter, Jordan Wong, this like broke the all-time squat record in sleeves for the 220s. Super wide sumo stance. His squat stance and his sumo deadlift stance are almost the exact same. Um, versus someone who squats like extraordinarily narrow. Good example of this would be like Ed Blair. Dude squats like 830 fucking pounds or something ridiculous. His feet are literally like this far apart. Like they're
Oh shit.
inside of his shoulders. And he's a buff ass fucking dude. If you watch some of his lifting,
What's his
yeah,
name?
go to Ed Blair. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
Edward Blair.
Yep. As they scroll down a little bit and like look at his squats from competition day.
Good lord.
And look, his knees go straight forward whenever he squats.
Yep.
But
Wow.
it's a pretty squat.
Yeah.
And then, but if you watch someone like Jordan, he's like same principles apply to
Yep.
both of these guys. Like they're doing the same thing, except people like Ed, super narrow stance, and then Jordan, super wide stance. So
Yeah.
like that's kind of where the exploration
Yep.
comes in with lifters. Is like
He does have a bit of a higher placement up with the bar on his back.
that's actually a low bar position for him though. It's weird.
This is really. It looks like a mid bar almost, kind of like a John Hack style.
I mean, if you like saw him in person, like he's a pretty short guy and he's jacked as shit.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a really thick upper back, so it probably looks like it sits higher, but no, it's a low bar position. But yeah, what was I gonna say? No, but that's like where the exploration comes in for lifter. It's like you want a lifter to like not only be in a good position, but they need to actually be comfortable in the position. So it's like you could teach somebody like how to squat a really wide stance, and it would look really good and might even be pretty strong for them. But if they don't feel like good and comfortable and confident in that position,
Yep.
maybe it's better to actually like revert them back to a more narrow stance.
Yeah.
Even if it might be less optimal like mechanically, if it's more optimal for them psychologically, better off doing that anyways. So that's where like some of the art comes in for like from a coaching perspective and communicating with the athletes. It's like hey, I think this might be better for you. Let's try it for a little bit, see how it feels.
Yep.
And like communicating with the athlete for like why you're having them try this, but like make sure like they're like following along with it. Like if they actually like it, if they're responding to it well.
Yeah.
Because there's like this sport is just as much mental as it is physical.
Yep.
You can't just put a lifter in a position that you want them to lift him, think it's best. Like they have to want to do that kind of stuff too.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just gonna they're just gonna resist it.
Yeah. No, I agree. And also I always preach when it comes to like creating someone's training program for however long you guys are going to train for, you always want to make the program fun to some degree. Like obviously part of it's going to be work, but part of the training, it has to be enjoyable. Because if not, I had a coach and on month 3, I'm just like, okay, like I'm training, but like I'm not having any fun. I don't, I feel like I'm like in a box. You know what I mean?
The same movements for like 3 months at a time.
Yeah. So I always think you got to be able to have some sort of fun. I always put accessories down that are easy go-to accessories, but if someone says, hey, can I do this accessory? Because I like it more and it's more fun and it's pretty much the same thing. Knock yourself out, have fun with it.
Because another part of the art aspect of the coaching too. It's technically, if you really wanted to, keep the same exercises in forever as long as you just periodize them. But it's like, it gets pretty stale pretty fucking quickly.
It does.
And maybe there's a new bar in the gym that maybe if you have the best interest of the lifter in mind, maybe you want to keep them engaged with the lifting so that they'll keep progressing. So like work in the new fucking specialty bar, like specific to their needs. Of course, don't just throw shit in willy-nilly because they want to do it and it'll be fun. But like you can make the training engaging and specific to the lifter.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like I'm one of my athletes that I recently picked up, he looked at the program and he was like, hey, can I do this instead of this? I was like, yeah, absolutely. There's no problem. And he was like, man, I thought that was really cool. I had a coach one time and I asked like, hey, can I swap out this for this? And he was like, that the coach was like, no, you can't. You got to stick to the program. And no. And I had another one where I was like, let's try SSB. Okay. There was a little bit of an issue with like hips coming up first. Not really. I was like, okay, maybe we need to revitalize our, posterior chain strength a little bit. We used pin squats so that he could come down, stop, think about, what he's going to do on the way up and get that practice in. And then, the pins are there. Like, look, you can try out this new movement. And if all else fails, the pins are there. You're going to be fine. And that ended up to really work. And, and first he was like, he didn't like the pin squats are great. And he was like, he didn't like the SSB at first. And then he ended up actually really liking it, and he felt it a lot in his quads. He got a good quad pump, and it was very enjoyable.
I'll do this with athletes sometimes where it's like, sometimes get a new athlete who's like kind of skeptical of the training. I'm a big fan of SSB work, right? You put them under an SSB for like 6 weeks, like pause squats, regular squats, pin squats, whatever the fuck it is. Just the nature of the SSB, you put them under that then you put them back under a straight bar. Night and day difference between the way, especially if they're like a newer lifter and they've never used an SSB. Like you'll get a lot out of an SSB just because of the way you'll carry the bar on your back once you're back to a straight bar. And it's like kind of like shows them like, holy shit, this feels way better. Oh my god, the training's working. Now they're more inclined to actually take your word and like because you show them like, hey, this works.
Especially because that SSB really makes your back work to stay up in the position it's supposed to.
I mean, it's basically it forces your upper back brace. That's where a lot of people will lose, especially people who like, the bar will roll on them a lot. It's like learn an SSB to actually learn how to like tension their thoracic and their cervical spine like back against the bar itself. Otherwise, the fucking SSB just crunches them down.
Exactly. All right,
let's. Itself is nice too.
Oh, and speaking of SSBs, I just got the Kabuki Transformer bar, and I am so excited.
Jealous.
So excited. Oh my god, I'm so excited. Okay, so we're at about 2 hours and 13 minutes here. I had a lightning round that I wanted to do towards the end. Some quick rapid fire questions and you just throw it out there. Okay. Favorite utility bar to use in training?
Ooh. Like specialty bar?
Yeah, specialty bar. Utility bar. I've seen you on a couple.
Probably a Buffalo bar.
Buffalo
bar, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Yep.
Just a basic camber bar.
Yep.
I really like them for bench pressing, especially, but like it's also nice for squats because it's a little similar to the SSB. It's a little slight camber.
Yep.
and it forces a little bit more of a high bar position. So it's like for the most bang for your buck, nice little cambered buffalo bar.
Okay. Okay. Least favorite lift out of the three.
Ooh, oh shit, that's hard. Do
One
I go
that
with the
one
one
that
that
one that gives
most
you
is
the
a
most uphill battle.
uh, shit? I mean, it was sumo until I actually got good at sumo. Now it's probably
Okay.
because like all my injuries have stemmed like in my lower back, and being in an extended position on the bench just, like irritates it.
Mm,
But also it's like I got like big arms, like but my best is only like 460.
only.
So I'll go with bench. I don't know.
Okay. Best gym you have worked out at.
Dude, I'm biased, bro. I'm gonna say fucking Redcon, of course. Obviously.
All right. Favorite food / meal that you can eat when you aren't worried about a calorie count, if you ever are worried about a calorie count.
I'm never worried about a calorie count.
Okay.
No, I'm a sucker for like a really classic, like a steakhouse dinner, fucking like a big porterhouse steak,
Mm.
mashed potatoes or roasted potatoes, even some grilled asparagus on the side, and I'll always get a like ice cream dessert to go with it. Like steakhouses traditionally have like a brownie, like a hot cooked brownie with a scoop of vanilla ice cream on the top.
Hmm.
That's too. Oh, it's great.
Have you tried Texas de Brazil or a Brazilian steakhouse?
I haven't, but I would be willing to try it.
You got to. We have a place here called Texas de Brazil.
You
Ooh, so good.
gotta keep in mind, I grew up in bumfuck Chester, South Carolina, so it's like we had to drive like 45 to Rock Hill, which is like the most industrious place we
Yeah.
were around. It's like a satellite city for Charlotte.
Hmm.
So like, but even then, like a steakhouse is shit like Outback and Texas Roadhouse and stuff,
Oh,
and I
okay.
thought that
Yeah.
was shit. But
Try to look up where you live. Just type in Texas de Brazil. Similar places to that Brazilian steakhouse, because it's like it's an all you can eat steakhouse, and they give you a little red card, and it's red on one side, green on the other, right? And you flip it. Green means you want food, and they'll come out with meat on they come out with meat on skewers, and they'll slice it off for your plate. I'm talking flank steak, sirloin, like garlic chicken, bacon wrapped chicken. You can get lamb chops.
this sounds like my kind of
Dude, and it's all you can eat on meat. You just flip that you flip that bad boy over when you see something you like, bring it here. You know?
dude. I mean, I live in West Palm now, so I could probably find someone.
Highly recommend. Okay. Best thing about powerlifting.
Ooh. Best thing? Well, best thing and the worst thing I would say is like the community that kind of goes along with it. Like
Okay.
I've met all of my my closest and dearest friends through powerlifting. Like even my roommate who I live with here and met him,
Yeah.
and now we're best fucking friends and we live together. But also like getting engaged with like other coaches and then also developing friendships with some of the people down here. This was a big part of why I also chose to move to Florida, is because I have a big circle of friends that I met through powerlifting that live down here in this area. So like I get to train with them, I get to like meet with them regularly for like breakfast or lunch or some shit, coffee even, of course. Um, then also like talk with them in person, bounce coaching ideas, stuff. And then also is like there's something about like being in a powerlifting comp
Mm-hmm.
where it's like everybody is there for the same purpose and we're all oriented towards the same thing and everybody's short of a few people here and there.
Yeah.
Everybody's really supportive of every lifter, get really excited, and the energy is it's just something else, man. Like I describe it as like a religious experience. And again, that's me being Mr. Deep Thought Insightful Boy here. But no, it's like after my first powerlifting comp, no, this is where I fucking belong.
Yep.
I
Same
love
here.
everything about this.
Same here.
Um,
And
even when it's not powerlifting, like even in a competition setting, like outside, being around other lifters in the gym who were oriented towards powerlifting, and then having friends who was like they structured their lives around their training and improving in powerlifting, it's like there's a lot of camaraderie and it's great.
Yep.
I love
Yep. I always tell people when you go to a powerlifting comp, you're there to fight against yourself.
it.
That's it. You know what I'm saying? That's how you want to think about it. Obviously, when you get to certain levels, there's like first, second, and third for blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, when you go to a competition, you're there to compete against yourself. And that is the best thing because everyone knows it, everyone feels it, and for the most part, people will cheer you on. And it's
It's really weird because like you'll occasionally have like, especially now that I'm into the the higher echelon powerlifting stuff. Like I'm not a top notch lifter. Like I'm pushing I'm like top 40 right now all time for my class, which is like, not bad. But like I'm
Mhm.
not in like the top 10 all time. Um I'm in the current top 10 for like the current competitive pool, but um it's like being at those bigger meets, you'll have the occasional clique or crowd that's real sour towards other people and
Yep.
other competitors, and nobody wants to be around them. Like they stick to themselves, and everybody wants them to stick to themselves because it pollutes the mood and the tone for the day. And I feel like most people feel and agree like there's not a place for that in powerlifting in general.
Yeah.
It's like if you're gonna be like that, go over there by yourself. We don't want any of that over here.
Yeah, no, 100%. I remember I went to the USAPO get some flack for this,
Yeah,
for being very clicky. And
yeah.
I've noted I went to a friend of mine's powerlifting competition in Nova, and I did USPA before I did before I did USPC now. Okay,
Mhm.
don't really a lot of shit happened there, but
Yeah, we won't talk
so,
about that.
yeah. So I did USPA, and in USPA, everybody was there for each other. It felt like I would go to competition, I'd meet somebody cool, we'd be supportive in the back. Hey, you want to work in, you want to warm up, da da da. People are going for their final attempts. Everyone in the back's coming towards the front. Come on,
Mhm.
cheering each other on. And the lifters going up to compete, they would all be talking to each other. Hey man, what
Yep.
you got next? What are you going for? Oh man, that's awesome. So it felt very welcoming. I went to
Mhm.
my friend's USAPO meet. The lineup of lifters: athlete, headphones, coach. Athlete, headphones, coach. Athlete, headphones, coach. Just back to back to back to back to back. Nobody was talking to each other. It didn't seem like it had the same. And like the moment a lifter was done on the platform, you had the coach with his khaki pants on, his button shirt tucked into his pants with his clipboard and stuff. You know,
Mhm.
which I always thought that was a little weird personally. Like it's just powerlifting, bro. Like I get you want to look
Well, wait till
professional.
you see well, wait till you go to one of the big WRPF meets. You'll have Greeno running through in his fucking Adidas tracksuits, man. It's the cutest fucking thing.
Yeah, so like I saw a couple of them like all like professionaled out, right? I'm like, is it that serious? Is
I love it
it?
though.
I mean, I get it, but there's that part of me that's like, but it's like the moment they're done on the platform, it's like, all right, put your headphones in, come on, it just didn't feel like there was that, camaraderie between the lifters,
Yeah.
So yeah, in the USAPL, I feel like it can be clicky, but you are right. Sometimes it kind of sucks to see like, okay, bro, like we're in this doing the same thing. You're just, you know,
See, I got really lucky with like doing USPA. I did a local meet for in the Carolinas for my first meet.
mhm.
And again, I'm gonna like bring Jeff back up. He was like the lead guy for Upstate Barbell Club. Shout out to all the Upstate Barbell Club peeps from South Carolina. But yeah, my first powerlifting comp, like I was there with um my coach at the time. It was my first comp. I was real nervous, real reserved.
Mhm.
But I was one of the strongest lifters there, right? It was a local comp. I think I got second overall for the day. So I was like, I'm a pretty strong guy, but it was like I'm nervous, I'm shy here, right?
Yeah.
I remember Jeff, like he was coaching like I think he had like between 5 and 10 athletes competing at this meet, all a part of the Upstate Barbell Club, and like they ran the warm up room for everybody. Like Jeff was bouncing, so like we were in two separate. there was like a separate part of the gym property that had the platform and stuff. You had to walk across the parking lot to actually get to it. And then you had like the gym itself that like had all the warm-up equipment and stuff. And there was a TV in there with like the flights and stuff. But Jeff, like he was bouncing, like running back and forth between the buildings, dripping fucking sweat. And Jeff is like a jacked as shit guy. He was like 270.
Yeah.
This super lean, big fucking guy, like 6'3". But he's like going out of his way to like help everybody he can.
Yep.
Like not only his own athletes to like ensure that they do well, but like he came over, like he was loading plates for me. Never fucking guy. He didn't even say hi or like, hey, can I help? Came over and started helping load plates. And he was like calling out the flight list for everybody. He's like, flight C, they're on flight B is on third attempts right now. You guys should be warm ups and blah blah blah, that kind of stuff. And so like he was calling out timings for everybody in the warm up fucking day. And whenever he was hanging out like on the platform, like by the platform, for his lifters and whatnot, he would like high five and like dap up people coming off the platform, and it's like and cheering, and like he was cheering and yelling for me. Didn't even speak to the guy yet. Haven't met him or anything. And he's like, and you can, if you go back through my old meet footage, like my first meet ever on my deadlifts, you'll hear him yelling. He's like up, back, and then I lock it out and die, put it down. And I remember I've given him shit about that because it was just really cool because he was a really big, strong guy there. That's helped. You got to go back far from that, my guy. Keep going, keep going. This was a long time ago, back in the shaggy hair. Keep going.
Jesus.
Yeah, dude, this was like over 2.5 years ago at this point.
Ever bringing the hair back?
Yeah, I don't know about that long. Keep going, farther and farther. That's not my first comp. Keep going. But no, but like that was my first taste of powerlifting. Farther in general is like getting this. There you go. Back up, back up, back up. A little bit farther. Yeah, click on that one, or a little higher, a little higher. That deadlift one, I think. Not sure if it's a video or if it's just a picture.
Picture.
No, it's a picture. Go to the post. I think you should be able to click through that. Click up to like the second. I think that one. If you turn on the volume, go back. Turn the volume
I hear him.
Yeah, you hear it. That was Jeff. He was here.
Yes, sir.
It was great.
Yeah.
So, like that was my first taste of like the community that's in powerlifting. Was like this big, giant, badass, tattooed up guy, one of the nicest freaking people you ever meet, being supportive, going out of his way to help all of these lifters there. And I absolutely loved it. And like me, Instagram later, and wound up getting to train with him a few times before he passed. And he was a great help to me, a great support for me. And yeah, I learned a lot from the guy. Like, he was just really fucking cool, and I miss him. But yeah, it was that was like how like I got introduced to the powerlifting sphere. And I was like, you know what, this is where I want to be. This is what I want to fucking do.
Yeah, so. Yeah, I've definitely found myself at competitions like recently one of my athletes competed, and at this competition I knew one guy that showed up, and same thing, taking plates off, putting plates on, helping in the warm-up room. There was one guy, he didn't want to wrap himself. My buddy was like, oh, I'm going to wrap him. I'm like, but you're competing. I'll be damned if you wrap anybody, you know? So I'm sitting there like wrapping his knees, getting salts for people. Like, all right, come on, let's go. You know what I'm saying? Telling people, same thing, you know? But that's, I love that shit. I love that shit, you know?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, and same here. That's one of the whole reasons I really enjoyed powerlifting, and I've been able to stick with it for so long.
Yeah, and it's especially different now because like in a way I feel like I get to do what like what Jeff was able to do for so many people. It's like get to be able to go like, because especially I know what it's like for someone to like go out of their way to help me and like, give me that support at a meet means the fucking world to me.
Yep.
To think that I'm able to like now do that and give that to somebody else, it's awesome. It's just nothing like
yeah
that.
I remember a buddy of mine, we competed together at Tyson's, and he was like benching and he seemed a little off, and I was like bro, like don't worry, like you're gonna be fine, you just get out there. I lifted him off on every single lift off, you know, and kept saying he was nervous, you know. And then later in one of his Instagram posts, he was like, man, huge shout out to, you know, Jordan, really helped me keep my nerves down. And I was like, you know, stuff like that goes a long way for a lot of people. And
Oh, if you click on the coaching highlight from my story, that picture right there,
mhm,
yeah, that guy who was on my left, um, second from the right in that photo, that's he's one of my clients now. His name's Salvador.
mhm,
He was competing at this meet in Charlotte, um, that I just showed up at to help out because, um, this is when I was interning at Stronghand.
yeah,
He was competing and he didn't have anybody to wrap him. He didn't have anybody handling him or calling his numbers. And he just kind of like asked for my help. So like this is the first time I met the guy. Apparently I had competed with him for a year prior, but this is the first time I actually like met and talked with him as athletes. So and he's also one of my closest friends too. He's a fucking awesome guy.
yeah,
Yeah, so it's like that's the kind of stuff you kind of
yep,
we get to be a part of now, like as coaches
yep.
in the sphere.
And sometimes I find that more fun than actually competing. Just, just being in the mix and just, I remember.
I mean, it's fun, but it's like it's also really rewarding. It's fulfilling. It's like
Yep.
it checks so many boxes.
I
So,
know. And I'm three of my buddies competed in Charlottesville at the gym.
mhm.
And I was there that day, like rapping knees, talking shit behind them. All right, get your ass over here. You're about to hit the platform. And then one of them, his name is Wyatt. This dude's stacked. I mean, a powerhouse of a powerlifter. And then he's about to go up, but he doesn't have anybody to wrap his knees. Mind you, at this point, I had just got into rapping. I wasn't like I wasn't as I didn't have as much knowledge as I do now about it. And he's like, "Can you rap me?" For a second, I freaked out because Wyatt's a big dude and he don't fuck around. Super awesome guy, but he don't fuck around. So and he's super sweaty too. So I had to like take some chalk and like crush it in my hands and smear it all over his knees and legs so that the raps, and I rap it, and he was like, "Man, that was a fantastic rap." He got all of his fucking squats, and I was just like, "Oh my god, thank God."
Oh no, that's like I remember that from it's really okay. First of all, like if you're a competitor, um, and you ask someone like spare the moment to handle you, not even like wrap you, but just handle you in general, but especially if you just the wrap you in the moment, you owe them your fucking life at that point because
Dude,
like
yes.
it is so nerve-wracking to wrap somebody that you have never lifted with ever. You don't know how they like to be wrapped, you don't know how tight, you don't know what style wrap they tend to do, and you also don't know how long they can sit in the wraps once they're wrapped.
Yep.
So it's
Not only
and this is
that, but
Salvador.
you got to pay attention to the people on the platform because sometimes they'll run through squats. Sometimes you got to time it perfectly.
Yeah, you gotta learning the timing and stuff. And sometimes like I can sit with knee wraps on all fucking day, no matter how fucking tight they are. Um, a lot of people can't. Like they just don't have that pain tolerance.
I don't.
Where yeah,
I don't.
so like, times where you're tying off that last as soon as they're like calling you up. Um, but it's like you gotta like you're monitoring the lifter, making sure they're like in the right headspace. You're rather trying to time these reps. You're also paying attention to the platform at the same time to make sure that you start at the proper time and that they're
Yep.
not fucking quickly. God forbid they had to pause the meet for something stupid and then
Yep.
get on a trap and re-roll it. And it's like you have to like going through to handle somebody who's like in apps is a fucking task. And if you have someone who is willing to do that for you on fly, make them your best fucking friend because god damn it, are they a nice person. But and no, I did that with Salvador and is like his the way he was wrapping his knees his entire prep, he was one of those guys who would just like loop it around, like up 4, down 3, up 2. That
Yep.
was his knee wrap. I was like, yeah, nothing wrong with that. But he was also doing it really loose.
Oh, yeah.
They're really stretchy and stuff. So it's like I'm gonna wrap you like with a real wrap, you know? So
Yeah.
like with the crosses and like
Yep.
actually cinch it fucking tight. And the dude blows his fucking squats out of the water
That's
after the meet.
awesome.
And yeah, then we became great friends, and now he's one of So
Hell yeah. So a lot of stuff that you can get from powerlifting. So many cool people that you can meet. Best things we can probably say for our lives, thus far. Let's see. All right. So we are at 2 hours and 30 minutes. I'm all out of ideas. But yeah,
a lot. That surprised me. Killed 2.5 hours,
dude. I used to think, wow, 2 hour podcast, that's crazy. And then I did one for the first time. I was like, oh, you can burn through 2 hours relatively fast.
Yeah, we just sat here and fucking talked. It didn't feel like it was long at all.
Yeah, I know. So, Gabriel, it's Didden, right?
Didn't. Yes.
Didden. Gabriel Didden. Where can people find you? Obviously on Instagram. You got some stuff coming up with Redcon 1. I'm very excited to see.
Gabriel G Didden 220 on Instagram, on Twitter. That's about all you can really. Oh, same on TikTok if you really care about TikTok.
Twitter
you
too.
Can find me on. Reach out for coaching and that kind of stuff. And also you'll find me on the Redcon if you're ever looking for a place to visit. Hey, that's me.
Yep. So if you're in Tampa, West Palm Beach, Florida, you want to coach, check Gabriel out on Instagram. Fantastic coach. Takes this seriously. So much compassion, so much love he put into it. One of the best one of the best people I see out there. Redcon 1 gym. He's working out of there. They seem to have some stuff cooking up. I'm very excited to see. As far as for you guys, like the video, share it, comment, let us know what you think. Let us know if we had some bad takes, let us know. We keep it real around here. But Gabriel, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast, man. I appreciate it. It was an awesome time. I hope everybody learned something about you. I definitely learned more about you. Any final words?
Yeah, dude. Thank you so much for inviting me on. This was at some point. But yeah, thank you.
All right. And for you guys out there watching, catch you on the next one.